Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Back again. Just checking to make sure the volume's right. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who back? Back again. Yes, yes, y'all. It don't stop. Yes, yes, y'all. And it don't stop. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, everything sounds good. Welcome, family. I need to apologize. I said, this is the 2020 Jimmy Lansford Jamboree Festival, the virtual online edition, because you know that COVID ain't no joke, y'all. Ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. Yeah. Yeah, boy. It ain't no joke. Okay. Let me stop making a fool. But I'm up now. Man, let me apologize. I said it's going to be 14 days of straight original content programming around the legacy of the great James Melvin Lunsford, Jimmy Lunsford, black music, black excellence. It's going to be going down in Memphis town and we all be land broadcast online for your viewing and enjoyable pleasure. I don't know. But man, I went to sleep, man. I had that itis, man. Shout out to my aunt Dorothy. She did a home welcoming catering thing. Like she just doing her thing. I mean, she's really been getting blessed this 2020 silver lining and all that stuff. So she had this nice little spread over her new home. God bless this happy home, full with bellies and laughter and stuff like that, and a joy. So I want to thank my aunt Dorothy for blessing us, man. I just had the itis, man. Ate that peach cobbler and got knocked the elf out. Thought, oh hey man, I'm gonna do the last 2 hours of Christmas, gonna broadcast as I promised. But here, I'm gonna do like the white folks do with voting and stuff. I'm gonna make up the rules as I go along. Hey, I said every day I'll bring out some original programming. It's still Christmas out there on the West Coast, Pacific Coast time or Pacific time. It's still Christmas out there or Christmas. So technically, it's still Christmas somewhere in the world. So I have not reneged on my promise to do some broadcasting every day for 14 straight days. I believe now to December 31st, New Year's Eve. I want to thank. I hope everybody had a blessed time with family and friends and strangers. Uh, or if you just spend, or what do the lonely do at Christmas? Whoa, what do they do? What do they do at Christmas? If you're spending time with yourself, for whatever reason, I hope you enjoy your company of me and myself and I. I always truly enjoy my company. I don't really need to be with no other people if I could be friends with me and myself and I. I hope that all you have learned how to really be patient, loving, and forgiving towards yourself in this 2020 year. Let there be hindsight lesson for you all as we turn 21 in a few days. We'll be legal. I'm on my own. I'm on my own. Okay. I hope all is well. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. So this is the 2020 Jimmy Lunch for Jamboree Festival. And I'm saying y'all, a lot of y'all say y'all woke and conscious, man. I'm so woke, I be tired sometimes. I can't, I can't go, I be sleep. Oh my God. Cause like I be having all these numbers and dates and stuff in my head, anniversaries for this and that. So sometimes I don't post nothing. Sometimes I be days or weeks behind in posting what be really engaging me as I be woke. I'm so woke. It makes me sleepy. All this information be juggling and in my head. People say, how you keep all this memories of dates and man, just the ancestors won't let me rest, man. In this case, every time Christmas come around, I'm thinking about the late great Johnny Ace, rock and roll's first star and casualty. That's right, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, the late great Johnny Ace, also known as John Marshall Alexander Jr., born June 9th, 1929, made his transition as a righteous ancestor Christmas night 1954 down at the Civic Auditorium or City Auditorium in Houston, Texas. Wow, man, you can't make this stuff up, folks. I mean, this man died at the young age of 25. Legend. arguably the most popular singer during his era. Man, career was only just basically about 2 years. Had all these number one hits in the R&B charts and stuff, black music. Arguably the first black, or the first rock and roll star. Arguably had the first rock and roll song in history called My Song. You told me, da, 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 and my heart will leave in tears, something like that. But this man was interesting, right? Because he was the John the Baptist to Elvis's Jesus. He basically told what's to come, and he's not even recognized, y'all. How can you be the first pioneer in in terms of he's the first rock and roll star, right? He was so popular during this time that in order to get him as your headliner, you had to have either BB King, Bobby Blue Bland, or Little Richard as the opening act. You understand how big he was? He was big at the Apollo, all around the country. This was the number one black male singer in the country from the early 50s for 2 years, and then he died, and people forgot about him. He's written out the history books, not in anybody's Hall of Fame. Really a damn shame. So I've been caping for Johnny Ace for several years now, since 2009. Really, since 2007, when I discovered Mr. Lunsford, I started discovering other Memphis music icons and innovators and stuff, just like Johnny Ace, the late great Johnny Ace, and that Paul Simon song is about him. His biggest hit came after he died, "Pledge of My Love." It was amazing because back in those times they're trying to get white artists to cover black artists like Little Richard with Pat Boone, Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy, Tutti Frutti, or you got Little Willie John, you got the fever, dun, 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 dun. Little Willie John was a badass. When Berry Gordy, before he started Motown, he wanted to build his record label around Little Willie John. See, it was Little Willie John's sister, the talented songstress, and Rayette, what do you call them, Rayettes or Raylettes, Ray Charles singers. Mabel John used to drive around Berry Gordy around Detroit before he started Motown, and he wanted to sound Little Willie John. Now, Little Willie John really was one of the greatest entertainers of all time. This dude taught James Brown how to perform at the Apollo Theater. Little Willie John did, from Arkansas. He taught James Brown how to perform at the Apollo Theater. This man was so badass that Jackie Wilson will be afraid to come on behind Little Willie John. This is the Jackie Wilson who shares the same birthday of June 9th with our one and only, the late great Johnny Ace. He was afraid to come behind Little Willie John. He wanted to come on before Little Willie John. Jackie Wilson is a badass. One of Michael Jackson's inspirations, Mr. Excitement. But Little Willie John is not talked about today like he should be. He died under questionable circumstances, like the late great Johnny Ace. He died at the age, I want to say, either 29 or 30 years old, in a penitentiary up in Walla, is it called Walla, Washington? Up in Washington State. He had killed some dude in self-defense at a house party. Although the witnesses all agreed it was self-defense, they threw the book at Little Willie John. And he died in prison under questionable circumstances, just at the age of 29 or 30 years old. Little Willie John was an inspiration for Little Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder started calling himself Little Stevie Wonder after his admiration and respect for Little Willie John. And I had Little Willie John's son on, who actually sung backup with Stevie Wonder back in the day. I had him on with the author, this wonderful journalist from the Detroit Free Press. She wrote a book about Little Willie John, a biography, The Fever. And I had both of them on to talk about the legacy of Little Willie John on my show. It's in the We All Be TV archives. But this is why I do what I do, because this history is getting lost. And we're not telling our stories because we wait for white folks to tell our stories, to make a movie about it on Netflix or a documentary. Isn't we take interest of our own story? We have produced some phenomenal people that don't get the play that they deserve. So this is why I've dedicated what I'm doing with the Jimmy Lunsford Jamboree Festival. It's not to only talk about Mr. Lunsford, but to talk about the hidden chords or the hidden notes in Black music history. in American music history. That is the goal right now. Now I do other shows, stuff like that. I'm getting energized as I talk about this. Like I said, I feel bad about missing. I'm like white people with the election. Hey, it's certified. Look, it's still Christmas somewhere on the West Coast, out in the Pacific time. It's still Christmas. So I didn't renege on my promise. I was tired, man. People don't understand. Like I'm like, I don't see how I can keep on going. But like I said, people don't believe I can run 6 miles in 1 hour with a mask on. I have a mask on. I like to sweat. That mask stick to my face when I'm in the gym, snot, whatever, water, everything running down. I'm still running for 1 hour for 6 miles. Now the cats that don't believe that I'm not interested in proving that. You prove it by working out with me in the gym. That's how you prove it. Then you know the truth about who I am. See, I'm always been an underdog. People always underestimated what I can do and who I am for my entire life. That's the life of a black person. But I'm used to getting bullied, by individuals and institutions, and I'm still here 40 years later, going strong. I use my obstacles as ways to achieve what I want to do. Because as an artist, I realize it's not about solving problems. It's about finding ways to get around, under, and over a problem to make your statement. Because the same things I deal with as a visual artist, Picasso, Leonardo, Jacob Lawrence, Charles White, Jean-Michel Basquiat, just had his birthday December 22nd, they dealt with. And the goal is not to solve the problem. The goal is how can I find a way to get around, under, and over said problem to make my statement. And that's what I do at We All Be, because we all be in it to win it. But I have an extensive archive of Johnny Ace related material. I interviewed the widow of Johnny Ace, the biographer of Johnny Ace, even the siblings of Johnny Ace, to get another perspective on the legacy of John Marshall Alexander Jr., aka Johnny Ace. And I want to play some of that stuff. And also, I had the honor last year of the great Carla Thomas, the queen of Memphis soul, who knew Johnny Ace personally back in the day. She was a prodigy, a musical prodigy, and also the daughter of the phenomenal Rufus Thomas, the oldest teenager in the world. No disrespect to Dick Clark, but this cat was the oldest teenager. Y'all remember his scene from Watch Stacks, right? Man, that Rufus Thomas was something else. But his daughter, Carla Thomas, not only a great musician, who sung duets with Otis Redding. I gotta get Carla Thomas on to talk about Otis Redding and those Stacks days. And she's hard to find, but she's a true treasure, man. I love her. And we honored her last year as the homecoming court queen for the 2020 Jimmy Lunsford Demery Festival homecoming court last year. And she shared some memories of Johnny Ace. She sung The Amazing The Clock on his great standards, on the great Johnny Ace songs that black women tend to love of that age, who can remember Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace was to black women what Elvis was to white women. Johnny Ace was to black Southern women back in the day what Elvis was to white Southern women. What's interesting about Johnny Ace? Johnny Ace was from South Memphis, grew up in the actual home. His daddy was a minister and also was a worker. He worked at the Plow Chemical Plant. So, they still live in the home he grew up in South Memphis, 899 Fisher Street, I believe, right near where Stax Museum, where Stax once stood, right near where Aretha Franklin was born. You got all that talent. The late great Johnny Ace, Aretha Franklin, Stax, the first black Hollywood movie, Hallelujah, Lamorne Owen College where Marion Barry went to school. That's Soulsville, USA, in the home of Memphis Slim. All that stuff is in Soulsville, USA. So Memphis is a powerful place. And I do these things to inform Memphians as well as people about the significance of Memphis. Don't talk about no damn First 48 all the time. When you speak on Memphis, put some respect on the name, man. Put respect on Memphis's name. And this is what I be doing, man. I'm not getting paid for this. I want to thank everybody who's been donating consistently on We All Be for this info movement, this info war that we're facing. Thank y'all, man. Y'all don't know what that means for me to know that people really care, not only about the welfare of We All Be, but also of Brother Ron. committing myself to do this work, man. This is God. This is my God work, man. I'm a loner, really, by choice, because I'm dedicated to what I'm doing. And when you are dedicated to what you was meant to do, you will never be alone. You'll find friends. You don't know any strangers. So I've been blessed to meet angels along the way, who will help me with this God work. So you ever gave to this cause, to me, to the movement, or you ever took the time to listen to what I'm saying and to share this information with your people, I just want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because this is what it's about. If you want to live forever, you got to share what you know and share your gifts with the world. Shine your light for the world to see. I shine my light for the world. Shine my light for the world to see. Okay, let's move on and let's get this started to the tribute to the late great Johnny Ace. And by the way, folks, Johnny Ace is the grandfather of the one and only Legacy. You know, the neo soul singing great Legacy. That's her grandfather. If you look at a picture, see, I'm an artist and I'm big about. I know you should do DNA testing, but if you look at a picture of Johnny Ace and Legacy, they look alike. You can tell that's his granddaughter. And Johnny Ace only lived to be 25 years old. He was married to a high school sweetheart he met when he dropped out of high school at Booker T. Washington High School. Booker T. Washington High School produced Maurice White, the founder and visionary of Earth, Wind, and Fire, as well as Johnny Ace. You also had the mother of gospel music, Lucy Campbell. That's the mother of gospel music, the Jegna to, I call it Jegna instead of mentor, to Mahalia Jackson and Marian Anderson, the opera singer. You got the queen of gospel music, Mahalia Jackson, and the queen of opera, Marian Anderson, were guided by Lucy Campbell, a longtime teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Memphis for decades. Soulsville. I mean, Memphis is amazing. This stuff should be in the curriculums of the school books for the children to learn and access. It's a damn shame, really. They're not going to get this information at home because a lot of our people don't know who we are. So this is why I do what I do. You know, you had Nat D. Williams, local historian, and one of the first black radio DJs in America, in the South, at WDIA. WDIA was the first black radio formatted radio station in the country. You can't get the Breakfast Club without WDIA. Come on now. There'll be no Charlemagne the God without no Nat D. Williams, a great black man and educator who taught for years at, guess where? Booker T. Washington High School. He used to have these big talent contests on Beale Street. Some of the greatest young talent in Memphis would get a platform via Nat D. Williams on Beale Street. If Beale Street could talk, if Beale Street could talk, you know, that type of stuff, right? So let's get on with the tributes to the late great Johnny Ace, and we'll be coming back. It's gonna be a full show. Because like a lot of these stuff I'm gonna play, you can find it in its entirety on We All BTV, because I've been dedicated to bringing up the memory of Johnny Ace every Christmas as best I can, but sometimes I'll be lagging behind. So much to share, but I owe it to the people to share this information. So thank y'all for being patient. Know that the best is yet to come. I have some real divas like Sister Carla Thomas and Sister Earlis Taylor sharing what they know. I think let me apologize. Yeah, Earlis Taylor was our homecoming court queen back in 2017. Earlis Taylor, a great educator, a singing talent, very talented musical family. She did a tribute for Johnny Ace, Pledging My Love. Then Sister Carla Thomas, the great Sister Carla Thomas, the queen of Memphis Soul, she did a tribute to Johnny Ace called The Clock. We're going to play that along with Johnny Ace's daughter, Janet Perry, talking about her father. Janet Perry was only 2 years old when her father left her and her brother, who was 4 years old. So she didn't really know her father like that, but she's been a champion advocate for her father. If you look at her face, you can tell that she is the daughter of the late, great Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace has some strong genes, man. I tell you that. You are the father, Johnny. You are the father. In my Maury Povich voice. But anyway, let's get on with the beginning, as they say. But whatever I said. But here it is. Our tribute to the late, great Johnny Ace. only on We All Be Radio, news free Dixie for the 21st century. Yay, yay. This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news free Dixie for the 21st century.
Goals don't work unless you do. But how you recover matters just as much as your dedication. Expect more from your work hours.
So let's get it going. Like, okay, Johnny Ace is the posthumous king, right? Y'all know who the late great Johnny Ace was? Yeah, you say yeah, you know. I move fastly. Give a round of applause for Sister Elise Taylor. She helped me out in Manassas. Well, I don't see Miss Janet Perry here. She is the daughter of the late great Johnny Ace. He died when she was about 2.5 years old. Johnny Ace is, by many sources, be considered like one of the early pioneers of R&B and rock and roll. He came out of Booker T. Washington High School. He actually flunked out of Booker T. Washington High School. He probably could be the most famous dropout. He was a part of the Bill Streeters. I don't know if y'all know who the Bill Streeters were. I had talked to Bobby Boubland a year before he passed at the High Rackers Royal Studios market dedication. I said, you know what? I said, the Bill Street is like the Wu-Tang Clan of blues. He looked at me crazy. I said, I mean, the Wu-Tang Clan is like the Bill Street is of hip hop. I said, there you go, fella. And I asked him about his bandmate, Johnny Ace. Now, y'all understand, the Bill Streeters had B.B. King, Bobby Boubland, Junior Parker, Roscoe Gordon, Earl Forrest, and Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace got his break because Bobby Boubland could not read. He could not just, it was like an R. Kelly thing, he couldn't read. Yeah. So Dave Mattis, who was like the sound production engineer at WDIA, which was the first black radio format program in the country that premiered in 1948. Memphis is the birthplace of modern America, but that's a different time and story. Dave Mattis founded Duke Records. He needed somebody to sing this song called My Song. So Bobby Boubland was given the blue light, but he couldn't go, or the go green light, but he couldn't do it. So Dave Mattis gave the lyrics to Johnny Ace, and a legend is born. Johnny Ace's career was about 2 years, you understand? But at that point, he was like probably the most popular black male singer in the entire country. In order to get Johnny Ace to be your headliner, you had to get Bobby Boubland, B.B. King, or Little Richard to open acts. So why did all these cats that opened for him, they in the Hall of Fame, they remember, but nobody remember Johnny Ace, John Marshall Alexander Jr. from South Memphis, whose house still stands in Soulsville, not that far away from Aretha and Stax and whatnot. So this is what happened to Johnny. Christmas night, 1954, backstage doing a Christmas concert in Houston, Texas at the City Auditorium. He was label mates with this lady named Big Mama Thornton, who sang You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog. That was his label mate. So Johnny was known for playing around with his gun, his .22. He liked when they travel, he'll like to point at road signs and shoot the road signs. Sometimes he liked to point the gun at himself and other people and pull the trigger, but he said there ain't nothing in the chamber. So he liked to play around. Because you gotta understand, when you're doing one-nighters back then, you do a one-nighter and you might have to travel several hundred miles to the next one-night. And that's a total on anybody's body. And then you worry about, I'm gonna get paid all this other stuff. Then you got all this other worry when you're a musician, life on the road is interest for musicians. Not all musicians, but certain types. So he was in the backstage of the City Auditorium with his girlfriend on his lap, Olivia Gibbs. He was married to his high school sweetheart, by the way. But he had his girlfriend on his lap, Olivia Gibbs. He pointed the gun around at people, pulling the trigger. And Big Mama threw it and said, wait a minute, Johnny, oh, don't point the gun. You know, you crazy? Are you crazy, boy? They said that she took the gun from him and gave it back to him. And he said, wait a minute, y'all, this gun is empty. I'm going to prove it. And then, you know, he shot himself in the head. He didn't know the gun was loaded. He was just 25 years young. That's Christmas night, 1954. January 2nd, 1955, they had his funeral at Claiborne Temple. You know, the Grill Street is where the pallbearers. What makes Johnny Ace so unique was the fact that Johnny Ace was a black dude that sounded white. You know, when he died, Elvis was on the rise. Think about it. Johnny Ace was from South Memphis. He lived in a home, a house. Daddy was gainfully employed, kept, you know, he's a minister, but also kept employment. Elvis grew up in North Memphis, lived in the projects. And then Elvis sounded black and Johnny sounded white. But he did a song called Pleasure My Love, was his biggest hit after he died. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't enjoy the fruits of his labor. Just 25 years young. And so what's unique about Johnny Ace is that it's opened the door for the crossover, for the Ray Charleses and Sam Cookes and the Motowns and the Stacks, all that stuff that will come later. But why is it that he's not in anybody's Hall of Fame? He's not in the Memphis Music Hall of Fame. He don't got no brass note on Bill Street. He is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but should be as an early influence. So we want to give honor to Johnny Ace. This would have been his 90th birthday. He's a Gemini, June 9th, 1929. See a theme here? So we want to give honor to him this year. And I want to thank the Beyond category sis star, Elise Taylor. She did her thing. She sung Pledging My Love at Manassas, and it drove the kids wild. And I want to show the evidence of that tonight in honor of Johnny Ace, Pledging My Love, that she sung for the kids with Dr. John Bass as guitar accompanist, director of the Mike Curb Institute at Rhodes College. So please enjoy. And that's Sister Elise Taylor back there being patient. Very patient sister, patient with me. Lord knows she's very patient. So we're going to play that. And then also, I don't see Janet Perry here. We're going to play a clip. I interviewed her back August 11, 2014. And I'm going to play like 10 minutes of what she said, because people don't know that Johnny Ace, granddaughter is Legacy, the soul singer, from one of his side affairs. You know, that's his, maybe Libby Gibbs was her grandmother. We're trying to figure that out now, but Legacy is his granddaughter. And her father was a well-known New Orleans R&B pioneer. He's passed away already, but I had a chance to talk to Janet Perry to hear her side of the story. She's just 2 years old. So we'll play that after Elise Taylor's wonderful rendition of Pleasure My Love.
I'm gonna do an old song by Johnny Ace that went to school here, right here. He was from Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, you want to do it now? Hello, you want to do it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's called Pledging My Love. You can find it on your phone. Okay? And I know some of y'all in love with each other, or you have friends somewhere else that you love. So you just think about them when you hear this love song, okay? All right. Forever, my darling, our love will be true, always and forever. I love just you. Just promise me, darling, your love in return. Make this fire in my soul, dear, forever burn. My heart set your command, dear, to keep love and to hold. Making you happy is my desire, dear. Keeping you is my goal. I'll forever love you the rest of my days. I'll never part from you and your loving ways. Think about your loved one now. You're going to tell this story too. Like that corner right there. It's the amen corner. My heart said your command, dear, to keep love and to hold. Making you my happy is my desire, dear. Keeping you as my goal. I'll forever love you the rest of my days. Forever hold you in your loving ways. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So, I mean, like, so how is like were you able to find out about the connection between Johnny Ace and Legacy?
Man, I was, now throughout the years, I heard that my dad had a child, out of wedlock, of course. It kept surfacing. The rumor just kept going throughout the years. And I tried maybe about 10 or 15 years ago to see if I could find anything on her or whoever it was. And I could not. Didn't have a clue, didn't know where to start. And as I got a lot more familiar with internet as the years went by, I started doing some research. And I'm trying to see how I came about Legacy as opposed to her father, which would have been Johnny Ace's son. But somebody mentioned to me, I guess, that Legacy was the granddaughter. They read somewhere where she was a granddaughter of the late, great Johnny Ace. And so I looked it up, read her bio, and in that bio, it did have something pertaining to her being the granddaughter of Johnny Ace. So after that, I did my best to contact her. I was in touch with her producers and people that represented her. And of course, they had me sending information on myself, driver's license to make sure I was who I said I was, and that she would get in touch with me. Well, never happened. I called, different people out in California, never was able to reach Legacy. She wouldn't call me back. So she was here 2013 at the Mississippi Boulevard Church doing a Christmas concert. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in the media, I run cameras. I knew a couple of people at Mississippi Boulevard. So I got them to kind of get me back in the room where she would be after service, and got a chance to meet her. And things went very well, and that was really about the size of it. We've not been in touch since then, but once I did reach out to her on Facebook, and she responded. And that's about it. Nothing since then.
Wow. So what would be like a hope that, if you could talk to her right now? I mean, I guess you could talk to her right now.
Yeah, man, what would you like to say? Love it. I've mentioned to her that we love her. We're here if she ever needs a sightseeing tour when she comes to the South. Let me know. If she wanted to stay with me, she's welcome. She's family. And I think as we get older, I tend to reach out towards people that are not close, because time is so short. Tomorrow's not promised. And I just want her to know that we love her. There is nothing we want from her but her love, and that she has family here back in the South.
How about she do like a album dedicated to her grandfather? Would be nice, like
Oh man,
cover of his songs.
Awesome. it would really be awesome if she did that. I love my dad. I didn't really get to know him 2 years on this earth while he was alive, and he died when I was 2. So I didn't get a chance to experience anything further with him, except, throughout the years talking to Aunt Myrtle and my mom and just different people that knew a lot about my dad. It's always so interesting. But if Lettucey could do that in memory of my dad, I would absolutely love it. And I will mention that before Natalie Cole did this duet with her dad, those were my desires. Even before she came up with it, I had desire to sing with, one of his songs, and he do the same thing really that Natalie's father did. But it never came to pass. So it's still one day. Maybe I will do that. Never know. It's possible.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So.
Were you able to ever talk to anybody that worked with your father on a professional level, from musicians or producers?
No, I have not. I've attempted to reach out to several people, and I was always too late. Dollar short, day late. Was going to reach out to B.B. King, and that person is still, of course, around, but I've not been able to have much success with reaching out to him. But other people that I felt would have some vital information about Johnny Ace, they're deceased now.
But some people left behind some evidence. I know, like Professor James Salem wrote the book, The Late Great Johnny Ace, and I know I talked to him before. He was kind of surprised that your father was not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
right?
And the blues, in the Hall of Fame for that matter, for his contribution. So I mean, like, talking to you now, I feel like you really do have a lot of pride and honor and respect for your father and his legacy. What do you like to see done in order to get him more recognition?
I would really like for his music to be played more here in the South. It's pretty popular overseas. But here in the South, where he grew up, I would love for them to acknowledge him more. Even the Hall of Fame would be great. I don't know that much about it, how one would get a family member's name put out there for that. But I just feel that with the things that he contributed to some of the local artists that have gone forth, his name should be in the Hall of Fame. And anywhere else, that's due him, I think that it would be great for him to receive that acknowledgement.
I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people agree
Yeah.
with that as well. So what about like some of the stuff is the family in control of his intellectual property?
That's a hard question. Now, my brother and I, before he passed, we were able to get some things where we would receive finally royalties. A lot of things have gone unnoticed where other people control them, and I think it should be part of the family, but I'm just really not sure how to go about getting that done. I really don't know, the industry and how it works. So, I've been trying to do some research the best I could, but I'm just not familiar with it. But I know he wrote a lot more songs than he was given credit, that I would just like to see him with the credit of those songs. I know that Dick Roby said that he wrote some things, but there's no way that he could write such a soulful songs that my dad wrote back in the day. There's no way. I don't believe that. My aunt had some papers where Johnny would write music, the actual copy of the music itself, but throughout the years, we've had people to contact some of the members requesting pictures and this and that, as far as writing information on Johnny Ace to go down in history. And they kept those items, his music handwritten, as well as some of the pictures of the family and Johnny growing up as a child. Those things are all gone. It seems like they were all taken from us. So I don't know. here talking with you, Ron.
No, it's important. I mean, because like we get the word out, like it's powerful. Like your words create worlds. Like you can create a different reality than what you're used to just by speaking, truth to power. So I just think it's very important people understand that his family, you lost him at a young age. I mean, you were just 2 years old. He was just 25 years old.
Right.
And also, y'all lost not only him but also his intellectual property. They could help create generational wealth. Mm-hmm. But speaking of a legacy, what about the
A bath fitter bath is installed quickly, safely, and beautifully with a lifetime warranty. The beautiful bath you've always wanted, done right, installed by one expert technician, all in one day. Book your free virtual or in-home design consultation.
How have your children and grandkids responded to?
My children, I have one son, and he's now teaching my grandson about his grandfather, which would be my grandson's great grandfather. And I mean, the family is excited to be able to say, it's like when they go to different concerts or they're in places where Johnny Ace's name is mentioned and they can actually say, this is a family member. They are excited. It seems like today, young people are into a lot of older music. I heard somebody say once that the world never changes. It just recreates or, it goes around as a boomerang. Nothing is new under the sun. Mm-hmm. So the music, even though it's back in the 50s, 40s and 50s or whatever, young people today are still playing that type music because things just go around and people love what they, were not able to hear because they weren't born back in the 50s. So they have an interest in it. So my nieces and nephews that are under me are so overwhelmed and excited to know that Johnny Ace is their relative.
Johnny Ace.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, wonderful.
I look at the face of the clock on the wall, and it doesn't tell me nothing at all. That face on the clock just stares at me. Right. It knows I'm lonely and always will be. All right. I want to cry my heart out. Want my baby back with me. I've nothing but time to step out, but time means nothing to me. If you hear me, please come back real soon, 'cause this clock and I are so lonely in this room. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, that's man, get Ernest Taylor doing her rendition of Pledging My Love. You had Janet Perry, sister Janet Perry, talking about her father, the late great Johnny Ace, and the legacy connection. That's his granddaughter. So that music stuff runs deep. It's in the soul, it's in the spirit, it's in the family. Then you had one and only sister, Queen of Memphis Soul, Carla Thomas, doing her rendition of The Clock. And that the Clock song, The Clock is very powerful, man. It's a powerful song. That's one of my favorite Johnny Ace's songs, right? Because you had Johnny Otis doing that clock ticking sound. The great record producer, his son went on to do Strawberry Letter 23 or the Strawberry Letter 24. That's Johnny Otis's song. doing that song. Johnny Otis was a Greek American, a white Greek American who chose to do a Rachel Dolezal. He chose to live as a black man in Jim Crow America. He loved black people and black culture so much, he chose to live life as a black man. This is Johnny Otis, who I believe is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Johnny Otis has not passed that long ago. So it would have been awesome if Johnny Perry could have talked to Johnny Otis, who seemed to have a lot of respect for Johnny Ace. He produced a lot of Johnny Ace's hit records and stuff like that. But he was married to a black woman. And his son did that Strawberry Letter song. Strawberry Letter, dun, dun, dun. That's Johnny Otis, legendary blues, artist, producer, R&B, all that stuff. So check out Johnny Otis. But yeah. So we're gonna also play an interview I did with Johnny Ace's widow, who was a teenager. She was a teenage, mother by Johnny Ace. She met Johnny Ace when he used to come up to Booker T. Washington High School. He was wooing all the girls. I'm gonna give her the woo, woo, woo. He was just with woo, 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 all that Pop Smoke stuff. May he rest in peace. Another one that died too young, Pop Smoke, this year, unfortunately. 2020 been a rough year, but I interviewed her via the phone. I had posted met Lois Alexander. That's the widow of the late great Johnny Ace, at her daughter's home, but she couldn't come. And as you listen to the interview, you could tell she's very emotional after all those years about what happened to Johnny Ace. Because Johnny Ace really, it was always like a shotgun marriage when he married. No disrespect to Sister Lois, but he got her knocked up as she was a teen mother. But once they got married, he was always on the road. He didn't even live at home. Like, she moved into his folks' home in South Memphis on Fisher Street. And he was always gone. Johnny Ace didn't live that long. He was just 25 years young when he checked out. And his career was just about 2 years. So, his daughter died, she was 2 years old, right? And he had a son who was 4 years old. So he really wasn't in their life. He was an absentee father, especially when he died, he was most definitely an absentee father. Came from a very religious background. His father was a minister or a preacher, and they didn't allow for any type of secular music to be played in the home. And what was interesting, even though there was a working class or a poor family, his father had gained, he was employed at the Plow Chemical Plant. And A.L.L was a great benefactor, I guess, of the black music scene in Memphis. He was the guy who was like the godfather for a person like Sunbeam Mitchell, who ran the Mitchell Hotel down in downtown Memphis. I've just now realized that one of my favorite spots to take people from out of town to, Ernestine and Hazel's, one of the most haunted spots in America. It's a bar, right? Great live music scene. Got one of the best burgers in all the country to me, because I went to California, the land of the hamburger, because California got some of the best hamburgers on the planet, in the country at least, I could attest to. I love Fat Burger because it reminds me of back home in Memphis, but you got a In-N-Out burger. You get that Tommy burger out there. Like Judge Joe Brown told me about the Tommy burger. Will give you like a heartache. I call it the heartburn burger, not the tummy burger. Y'all know, you LA people know about the tummy burger. Man, it give you like, all types of heartburn, but it's delicious. The chili cheese, double cheeseburger, whatever, the fries. I mean, LA is a foodie heaven, right? But this soul burger they have in Ernestine's and Hazel's, oh my God, it gotta be the sauce. The sauce. It gotta be the sauce, because that burger is amazing. So now, because of COVID, I think they changing ownership soon. But I had no idea till recently that was the Mitchell Hotel back in the day, because Ernestine and Hazel's, right? And I think Sunbeam Mitchell's wife was Ernestine, and they used to run a hotel for musicians. They used to have all-night jam sessions at that place. And it used to be a hotel, a place where musicians like Johnny Ace would stay. When Johnny Ace died, like I said, he didn't live at home. He was living on the road, in his car, in the bus, in hotels. But his place of residence in Memphis was the Mitchell Hotel. And when he died, they had a lot of his possessions in their possession. So I'm in, like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm waking up across the street from where they killed Dr. King, where they crucified him where they started the Memphis Race Massacre 1866, which led to the Reconstruction Act or the Reconstruction era, and also where Ike Turner, Little Richard, Johnny Ace, and BB King and Bobby Blue Bland would stay and jam all night and eat chili at the Mitchell Hotel, which is now known as Ernestine's and Hazel, as far from my research. So, I mean, this is Memphis, man. Man, I live in an amazing place, but people here don't know about it, which is sad. Like, I take people, when people come out of town, man, it's like, man, it's not just Memphis, man. I'm living in the Mississippi Delta. All this history, man. We go down 61 or 55 or whatever. It's so much history here. There's like Emmett Till stuff. Like, I'll tell you about the Emmett Till stuff. And I'm gonna have to do an Emmett Till show. There's a lot of interest in Emmett Till now. So I'm gonna update, do the Emmett Till show, and share some of the photos I took and some of my insights, even some raw footage I never shown before. I think 2021 is gonna be an interesting time for we all being Brother Ron. I'm really gonna start getting into my God work and see what happens. Because this year been so crazy. I said life too short. Let me just go ahead and immerse myself in this thing. But I've been talking too long already. But like I noted, in Memphis Strange, Elvis was a black dude that sounded was a white dude that sounded black, right? Grew up in North Memphis in the projects. Johnny Ace was a black dude that sounded white. Grew up in South Memphis in an actual home that his family still owned. We need to put a historic marker at that place. But Johnny Ace, like I said, his folks own a piano, right? They didn't allow for no secular music, but when his parents would leave, he'll get on that piano and play the latest blues he heard on Bill Street, the latest R&B, he heard, right? He'll play that on his piano, and he was encouraged by Nat D. Williams to pursue his talent. Although he dropped out of Booker T. Washington High School, Nat D. Williams encouraged Johnny Ace to pursue his talent. He actually did some radio DJ work, I believe, at WDIA, like BB King did. They were both disc jockeys at WDIA. That's the first black radio formatted programming in the country. The birth of black media happened in Memphis, of modern black media. Like I said, we had Ida B. Wells Barnett, who owned a newspaper, who was arguably the mother of investigative journalism in this country, started her media career in Memphis on Beale Street, at Beale Street First Baptist, which still stands. So I'm not too far away from where I'm broadcasting. So, it's an interesting place, Memphis, but like I said, they don't teach the history. A lot of folks walk around clueless, deaf, dumb, and blind. So Memphis is like everywhere else. A lot of zombies walking around here. But anyway, let me play that interview done on phone with Lois Alexander, the widow of the late great Johnny Ace, and we'll keep it moving. Like I said, I'll be trying to do these shows. I said, man, I don't know, I got an hour in me to do these shows, but I'll be on the show for 2+ hours. It's so much information out here, man. It's ridiculous. But yeah, we don't have the people teaching it. I mean, I don't put it on the American miseducation system to teach us about us. That's our duty. We must get back that village concept and teach these lessons. Like I said, I could do some gossipy stuff. I know you like that gossip stuff. Y'all crave that toxic, car wreck waiting to happen type of stuff. I ain't gonna never forget the time I was on the expressway in the morning several years ago. It's a real bad car accident on the expressway. And it was a dude on his phone looking at the car accident in the other lane, not paying attention to the car in front of him. He ran into the back of a car because he was too busy on the phone watching the car wreck already happen. He created another car wreck. And like I say, like the old folks would say, the elders, keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, y'all. Don't get too distracted by the bread and circuses. But let me play this thing from the widow of the late great Johnny Ace. I think I got it open. Don't front. I got you open. Don't front. Don't front. I got you open. Don't front. Like I said, y'all can find a lot of these videos I did on Johnny Ace in the We All Be TV catalog. Let's go to YouTube, We All Be TV. Look about Johnny Ace stuff, and you won't be disappointed. And I think I might have to create a playlist and share it with you all. I don't know if I have a playlist out there already, a lot of Johnny Ace related material, but I'll create that. And I'll like by the end of this year or the end of next year that Johnny Ace be in somebody's Hall of Fame, whether it be Blues Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Memphis Music Hall of Fame, have a brass note on Bill Street. I've been telling them white guys that run all the culture here, y'all need to honor the late great Johnny Ace, man. I don't know how y'all could put, no disrespect to the dead, but so many people they put brass notes on Bill Street don't deserve a brass note. You got Justin Timberlake got a brass note before Johnny Ace. That's ridiculous. Without Johnny Ace, there'll be no Justin Timberlake, who claims Memphis now, but he's from Millington, that's next door to Memphis. But Memphis is a powerful brand, man. Memphis is a powerful brand. It's not important to live in Memphis, but if you tell people you from Memphis, that opens doors, man, especially in the music business. Memphis is a powerful brand. But anyway, let's play this from Sister Lois Alexander. And this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. And I really don't care about no trolls. Your biggest haters and trolls are your fans. I don't have time to be answering no fools, no chat. No disrespect to the folks in the chat who's about the business of empowerment. I love you. We love you madly. But I don't really care for no chat for the no moderators. I don't really care. Like I said, I've been made fun of all my life, been bullied all my life, and I'm still here, sucker. So you ain't gonna take out this brother. I'm not to be taken out with lightly. I'm a one-man movement, and I'm trying to bring up some soldiers for the cause. And this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
It's an honor. It's an honor to talk to you and also to your lovely daughter. I can see the resemblance. You know, I never met your husband, but I can see the resemblance. Yeah.
There's never been a safer time to keep your car running right at Firestone Complete Auto Care. So come by now and get $40 off a set of.
I guess the talent runs in the family, but I just make sure I want to give him an award because I think he should be given more than what he's been given by the city of Memphis for his contributions to American music and to the culture.
Like that.
It's an honor to talk to you right now because I know you had to go through some things that a lot of us don't really appreciate. Well, I don't really. But you know, I'm glad that you was able to help him leave a legacy with his kids. I really appreciate that.
Is there anything you want to tell him about my dad?
So long.
Y'all met in high school, right?
He was out of school.
Okay, so what type of person was he when he dropped out of school, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think he dropped out and went in service. I think he went into the Navy, but he didn't finish that either.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's in the 11th grade, I think.
Now, what type of person was he? Was he very popular in school or out of school? Was he very popular in the neighborhood?
I don't know, because he was out of school because he's 5 years older than me.
Okay. So what attracted you to him? Like how did y'all meet? I mean, he came up to you, or how did it happen?
Yeah, I met him. He was a friend to some of my friends, and that's how I met him through them. But he would come over to the school too. He would come over there, but he wasn't going to school.
So what was it about him then that really said, "Oh, this guy, I really dig him"? What was it about him, about Johnny or Mr. Alexander?
I liked him, but well, he was a real funny guy, and you know, and he kid around a lot, and he was a nice guy.
Okay, all right. It was a good, funny guy. He made you laugh, but he didn't have no prospects to sing. Like he said, like he didn't have no future.
He didn't have no what?
No future in terms of like he was out of school, dropped out of school, he was just hanging around. It's like he didn't have any future. So what did you see in him?
I don't know. He really was into that music.
Okay.
Yeah, he was really into that music, and that was the only thing that he really wanted to do.
So did you ever go with him down to Bill Street by any chance?
No.
Okay. So did your family approve of Johnny?
No.
Okay.
So what was the, so when did you decide to get married to him?
We got married in 1949.
How did he propose?
Oh, mercy. You going into too much.
I'm sorry, I was just fascinated. I mean, like, I read so much about Johnny on the internet and like in books and stuff, and people talk about him, but you actually knew the man, like the person behind the myth and the legend. So, this is good to know that he was just a regular guy who did this phenomenal contribution to culture. It's amazing. He's a regular guy who had an exceptional talent.
He had a lot of talent because he could do more than just sing. He could play most of the instruments.
Oh, really? Wow. Now, how did he learn how to play these instruments?
He did it by ear.
Wow. So he taught himself by ear. Wow. That's amazing. So,
just within him, but.
Do you remember the first time you heard him on the radio?
Let's see, we was married then, but that was in 1950 something. I don't know. I really can't remember, but it was down. It wasn't early part of the 50s. I don't think. I think it was. I don't know. It might have been about 51 or 52. I don't know.
Okay. Can you recall how it made you feel, by any chance, to hear his voice on the radio?
You know what? I really don't want to talk about it.
I can understand that. But after he became, did you see him as a famous person during his lifetime? Oh, wow. Well, okay.
I am really sorry, but I really don't.
Don't want to talk about it?
No.
I understand it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you, nonetheless.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Okay. All right. Bye. I don't know what that's about.
I mean, I know it's kind of, I know, he was, I guess, faithful. I know all this. He's a musician and stuff like that. I know it's hard to talk about stuff like that, but I appreciate talking to me at all. It's good to have your mom. Did she talk to the kids or grandkids about?
No.
She don't really talk about him at all.
She doesn't talk about him at all. I'm the one that tried to keep his name alive.
She never remarried, never not. Wow.
So I know at one time she told me she liked bad boys. No, he was a bad boy. She wasn't a bad girl, but he was exciting to her because of his lifestyle.
Okay.
And I guess she was sheltered.
Was she like a church person too? Like,
I think she was raised with values and stuff, but she really wasn't in church back then. Not like she is now. She's really in church, and her faith is strong, and
Why do good girls like bad boys? Never ending story. Same old, right? There was Sister Lois Alexander, the widow of the late great Johnny Ace. Now, from my understanding, I believe she had 2 more children, but never remarried. So this is widow, and still years later, we did that interview back in 2014. So it's still like 60 years after he passed almost. She still couldn't deal with talking about her late husband. And it's interesting because I also interviewed his eldest sibling, his sister Myrtle, and she had some interesting stories about Johnny Ace. And everybody I talked to tell me how he was such a gifted musician that he could play any instrument. He could pick up on anything real fast and play it. He played the piano on my song, his first hit record, right? But the piano was out of tune, of course, for a lot. But I loved it. They added to it and it was a hit. Johnny Ace was meant to be famous and a star, and he was a Gemini. So there was a lot of things about him that she did not know. You know, Geminis and Scorpios are interesting people. My father's a Scorpio. He was born on Halloween. That should let you know what a Scorpio is. Then, you know, the top tank generals of World War II, would it be General Patton or Ernest Rommel or Montgomery from Britain, they were all Scorpios. Scorpios are interesting, but Geminis are very interesting. So Jimmy Lunsford is a Gemini, you know, and I talked to people that knew Jimmy Lunsford, and they could, you know, he was to himself. He had another side to him. A lot of Geminis are just great musical geniuses. One of my favorite rappers of all time, Tupac, Gemini, Biggie, Gemini. You look at, you know, other musical artists, Andre 3000, Prince, Miles Davis. Geminis, they are amazing, interesting, creative forces of nature, very contradictory. And Johnny Ace was no exception to the rule. So she knew a side of Johnny, and then other folks knew a side of Johnny. And the thing about it was, you know, they was married, but he wasn't really at home while they was married. He was on the road. Like, he had his girlfriend in his lap when he shot himself by accident down in Houston, Texas, Christmas night, 1954. And that was actually on a Saturday. Christmas in 1954 was on a Saturday. Now, what is strange about this is a mysterious death of Johnny Ace. Somebody sent a telegram to his people home in Memphis on Christmas morning saying that Johnny Ace was dead. By the end of the night, he was dead. You know, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the story, with the so-called official story reported on by the press. He was not playing no Russian roulette. You know, Russian roulette is a game where, you know, people just sit in a circle, pass a gun around, see if it goes off. He was just pointing guns at people. You know, he was like, you know, known for on the road, they driving 90 miles per hour in his car, shooting at road signs, shoot through the zeros with his gun. He had a 22. Some stories say he had a different type of caliber of gun, but the actual gun he had in his possession was a 22 that he got out of Florida, I believe, the Stand Your Ground state. I think he brought it in Florida. See, all these sources, because it's written down don't mean it's the actual factuals, right? So you got all these contradictory stories about what happened to Johnny Ace that night, but he just got killed doing a concert, a Christmas concert down in Houston, Texas. So it's interesting. Like I said, I got a lot of Johnny Ace videos, related videos on We All Be TV. Had a chance. And also, let me clear up. Okay, Strawberry Letter 23. Oh, the brothers Johnson, they sung that song, right? They made that version of the song, Strawberry Letter 23, was made famous by them back in 1977. But the song was written by Johnny Otis' son, Shuggy Otis. Shuggy Otis wrote that song back in 71, I believe. He's a musician in his own right. But the most popular version of this song was sung by the Johnson's brothers, or by the brothers Johnston, produced by Quincy Jones. Yet that Quincy Jones, who folks come from Vicksburg, Mississippi, that Quincy Jones produced Strawberry Letter 23. But Johnny Otis was the record producer and band leader for a lot of Johnny Ace's classic songs from the Duke Records era. And yeah, but Johnny Ace was a prodigy, very gifted, man. So speaking of his family's interest, I had a chance back in December of 2009 to interview the brother of the late great Johnny Ace, St. Clair Alexander. He really was his brother's keeper. He really was a big fan of his big brother, right? When Johnny Ace died unexpectedly and tragically, they reached out, you know, the record label, Duke, Don Roby. Don Roby is an interesting character. He's a black man that looks white. He's like a combination or mix of Berry Gordy, Russell Simmons, Suge Knight, Master P. Whatever. All that. Don Roby is the guy, man. He was a real gangster dude, and he really was an enterprising cat. He's kind of like that red character in the Five Heartbeats. That's Don Roby. But Don Roby was an interesting cat, man. And we'll touch a little bit on that. But Don Roby recruited St. Clair Alexander to, you know, be his brother's successor in the music biz. They dubbed him Buddy Ace, but he didn't make the cut, you know, and then they ended up going to another guy and called him Buddy Ace, who was not related to John Marshall Alexander Jr., aka Johnny Ace. So they're trying to get his brother in the game. I had a chance to talk to the brother, and before I met him, I called him on the phone, and he said, "Oh yeah, this is St. Clair. I'll be more than happy to talk to you, but know that I'm half a man." I said, "Man, he's like a man to me." He said, "Wait till you get here." I said, "Okay." So he said he was half a man, but he sounded like a man to me. But when I got there and went to his home to interview him, he was in his bed, hooked up to some machines, whatever. He was half a man. He was missing the lower half of his body. He was missing the lower half of his body. And it was like, wow, what the hell happened? And he told me about what happened. And I wrote about it. I contacted our congressman, Steve Cohen of District 9. That Steve Cohen, the Jewish guy who thinks he's black, who wanted to join the Congressional Black Caucus when he first came to Congress, but they wouldn't let him join. But Steve Cohen, the Jewish American guy who's been a representative of District 9 here in Memphis in U.S. Congress since, I will say, since he got sworn in 2007. But I reached out to him and found out that St. Clair Alexander would be what you call a A-bomb veteran. He was a guinea pig for the United States military when they were testing the A-bomb in the desert back in the day. They said John Wayne, when he did the movie about Genghis Khan, him and a lot of people were exposed to the high levels of radiation in the desert when they were filming the film about Genghis Khan. Because a lot of folks that were involved in that film died from cancer-related illnesses, including John Wayne. And it's because they was like doing that movie in the desert when they was doing A-bomb, they was setting off A-bombs in the desert. People in Vegas or Nevada, they was telling them the United States government say, "Hey, there's nothing to fear. It's just a light show. It's like a fireworks show. Go ahead, grab your popcorn, grab your glasses and enjoy the show." But they was exposing people, especially the military soldiers, to high levels of radiation because St. Clair Alexander didn't know what he was signing up for. He thought he was going to be sent to the Korean War overseas during that time, but they sent him to the American desert to be used as a guinea pig and lab rats for good old Uncle Sam. And stuff going on right now, a never-ending story. Same old, whether it be Tuskegee or what's going on right now. Same old, same old. So I'm going to read an article I wrote about that experience. Because we're talking about Johnny Ace. I mean, it's just tragedy upon tragedy. Like he loses his brother at 25, and his quality of life is affected as a young man as well. I think he was 3 years younger than Johnny Ace. 3 years Johnny Ace's junior. But man, let me read the article we wrote for We All Be News. Man, I talked to the congressman. Oh my God. Life is crazy. But y'all love y'all people, man. Because the man to his dying day, he was passionate about promoting the legacy of his brother. And it's really like the other parts of the family, they kind of gave up on that. I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. A lot of his family members, they don't know about the history of this great man, Johnny Ace. And a lot of them have not, really pushed it in terms of trying to get this man into these Hall of Fames, which he deserved to be in. It's a no-brainer. But we live in a strange world. You understand? Strange world. Let me see if I can find a picture of Brother St. Clair. And thank y'all for supporting We All Be. I know it's late. There's an old advertisement of St. Clair Ace. He was a true brother's keeper of his brother's legacy. Johnny Ace lives. To honor of Black History Month, St. Clair Ace. It's from like the 80s when he was performing. That's St. Clair Ace as a young man. Yeah, but he was a lab rat and guinea pig for Uncle Sam, and we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna read this article that I wrote some years ago, about 10 years and some change ago. And yeah, so this is why We All Be exists. Who else talking about stuff like we talk about on We All Be? What other new Black media platform takes the time to educate y'all about y'all history like this? Not to brag, but to brag. Okay. Brother of music great Johnny Ace, used as a guinea pig by the U.S. military, owed $75,000. St. Clair Alexander was victim of Operation Upshot Knothole, which exposed tens of thousands to radiation poisoning in the Nevada desert near Las Vegas. That bomb scared them. The whole area just shaking like it was going to fall in. They had 3 sheep out there, and all of them got killed. Their wool just burned. They had them for guinea pigs. That's all we was, just guinea pigs out there. They didn't give us nothing to protect ourselves. All they told us was to stay in the trench, stay in the trench. This is a quote from St. Clair Alexander. Hope y'all can hear me loud and clear. I'm gonna read so y'all understand. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. All right. Sit tight as we make our way through. When one seeks knowledge, it is amazing the things that you find that you are not even looking for. And that's what exactly happened when I went to interview St. Clair Alexander, the brother of the late great Johnny Ace, a forgotten music icon and arguably the first rock and roll star. I was gathering material about Johnny Ace for my TV show, Real Talk with the Artivist, and radio show, We All Be Radio, to commemorate the 55th anniversary of his death on Christmas night, 1954. I successfully found the phone number of his relatives in the phone book. I made contact with his kin and set up a meeting for Monday, December 21st, 2009. Little did I know what I was in store for. When I went to the family home in South Memphis, I was greeted at the door by Johnny Ace's youngest sister, Sandra Alexander, a former military nurse during the Vietnam War who now runs her own tax accounting business. She led me to the room of St. Clair, Johnny Ace's younger brother, and arguably one of his brother's biggest fans. At the time of his brother's death, St. Clair was a gifted amateur boxer in the U.S. Army and a budding R&B singer. After Johnny's death, St. Clair tried to build a career as a singer with mixed results. When I got to his room, I was surprised to find him in a hospital bed. Although he was bedbound, his spirits seemed to be high. He was a double amputee, missing his legs. So I immediately thought maybe he was diabetic. As if reading my mind, he started to talk about the reasons why he was half a man, as he told me on the phone before we met. He told me he lost his legs back in 1994 when they became unbearable to live with. He said that it felt that his legs were on fire 24/7 and that it was hard to walk due to the immense swelling. At one time, his legs were so swollen with fluid that they began to burst open, causing hideous sores. What he told me next about his current condition sounded like something from a sci-fi movie or horror flick from the 1950s. But what truly made it horrid was that it was all too real, with real consequences suffered by a man for the next 56 years of his life. St. Clair was in a unit of 500 enlisted men, about 20,000 overall, who participated in Operation Upshot Knothole, which was a series of atomic H-bomb experiments done in the Nevada desert in the mid-1950s. St. Clair and his fellow comrades were exposed to extreme high levels of radiation in the process. Many of them, including St. Clair, didn't know they were going to be guinea pigs. They thought they were going overseas to participate in the Korean War. To add more insult to more injury, they were not giving the proper equipment for protection either. St. Clair said that they were given gas masks from World War II that were so inept and rotted out that their commanding officer told them to discard them. After their participation in the experiment was over, St. Clair and his fellow soldiers were told that due to their exposure, that they for the most part would not make it to age 50. He further added if they do live long, that they will suffer severe medical and health issues, making quality of life very miserable. The commanding officer also promised the participants for their invaluable service, aka sacrifice, to their country, that they will receive a medal and a letter of thanks and recognition from then President Eisenhower. Needless to say, the aforementioned appeasement never materialized, and St. Clair is now 77 years old. This injustice has left a reasonable bitter taste in St. Clair's mouth and mind. Since he is a double amputee, St. Clair uses an old wheelchair to get around. When I spoke to him in December, his wheelchair was getting repaired at the VA, Veterans Administration Hospital in Memphis. What he really needs is a new wheelchair equipped with the right devices to help him get around. He was told of his past troubles with the VA, or he told me rather of his past troubles with the VA in getting adequate care. And I definitely know from experience that he is not alone. This past week, I visited with Congressman Cohen's office to tell them about St. Clair's hardship as well as his connections to Memphis music royalty. They provided me with a form for him to release his full military records. I also discovered an April 2009 newsletter from the County of Stearns Veterans Service Office in Minnesota and the National Association of Atomic Veterans. What I read on both websites was shocking and sinister, to say the least. According to the NAAV, circa 2009, atomic veterans were members of the United States Armed Forces who participated in atmospheric and underwater nuclear weapons tests from July 16, 1945 to October 30th, 1962. They also include veterans who were assigned to post-test duties such as ground zero nuclear warfare maneuvers and exercises, removing radiation cloud samples from aircraft wing pods, working in close proximity to radiated test animals, decontamination of aircraft and field test equipment, retrieval and transport of test instruments and devices, and a host of other duties assignments that provided an opportunity for a radiation exposure and contamination event. Overall, more than 200,000 military personnel were used as guinea pigs for Uncle Sam. In 1990, Congress passed the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, offering veterans who took part in the test a payment of $75,000 each. County of Stearns Veterans Service Office, April 2009. Unfortunately, not many of the surviving veterans and their families know about this compensation, and St. Clair was one of them until Saturday, February 13th, 2010. Will keep you posted. So he was an A-bomb veteran against his own will. I mean, this happened in the 50s, right? You know, he had the tragedy of losing his brother in 54. Come to find out, he was used as a guinea pig for Uncle Sam. That one family suffered a lot. That is a lot of suffering for one family. You understand? Like, you had the immediate tragedy of losing your brother the way they lost his brother. You talking about some blood sacrifices, Illuminati, and all that stuff. You talking about the month of December, the birth of Christ, right? Look at all these Christ-like sacrifices in the music industry. Look at Sam Cooke in 64. With that December 11th, 64. Look at Otis Redding, December 10th, 1967. Look at Pimp C, December 4th, 2007. Look at James Brown, December 25th, 2006. Look at Johnny Ace, December 25th, 1954. You understand what I'm saying? Who benefits from the removal of the king? This is very Shakespearean. But look at his brother suffer like that. His brother was not given mercy. This brother, they told him that your life will be hell if you make it to 50. And now on that, some of the stuff that he experienced from the radiation exposure, he passed on to another generation of black people. It's like Flint. You know, you contaminate water, Legionnaire disease. Once you get lead in the body, it don't get out the body. You know what I'm saying? It does not get out the body. So you pass on those defects to another generation of black people, Like I talked to Larry Lee, Jimi Hendrix's best friend, who guess where he's from? He's from Memphis. He met Jimi Hendrix while he was going to school on a baseball scholarship at Tennessee State. Jimi Hendrix was part of the Screaming Eagles, 181st Airborne, or the 182nd Airborne out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Y'all can correct me because I don't feel like looking it up. But he was exposed to Agent Orange during Vietnam, and he passed on defects to his family. So we just lab rats and guinea pigs. Y'all so eager to be lab rats and guinea pigs. But the thing about it is, we are already lab rats and guinea pigs. We didn't sign no release papers to be lab rats and guinea pigs. When you're born into this system, you are a lab rat or guinea pig. So, yeah. So he ended up dying. Congressman Cohen wrote a letter saying that, yes, he is owed money. He confirmed this, but guess what? We're not going to pay him because we're out of money. Sounds familiar? They wouldn't even give him $600. They said we couldn't let alone give you $75,000. They owed him $75,000. Really, it should have been $75 million. But you know it is what it is. But they owed him that $75,000, even $80,000. But Congressman Cohen's office claimed that they didn't have the money to give him that. He was owed that with interest. They signed this into law, paying off these A-bomb veterans. And he was most definitely an A-bomb veteran. Never got the letter from Eisenhower. You know, Dwight Eisenhower died in 1969. You understand? That happened back in the 50s. They say Eisenhower was a black president. They say his mama was black. You know, you look at pictures of the Dwight D. Eisenhower mama. Yeah, she might have been black. You look at Dwight D. Eisenhower close enough, you could tell he looks like some black people I know that could be passing or could pass. I know black folks like Dwight D. Eisenhower. So, and you know, if you're honest with yourself, you know black people that look like Dwight D. Eisenhower. But I say all that to say, it's crazy, but unfortunately, we lost St. Clair August 5th, 2011. Too little, too late, but he was able to get that information from me. I wrote that as a blog post and got it to the congressman's office. They confirmed they sent a letter to him and his folks. And, you know, it is what it is, man. Like these stories, man, people don't understand. Like, I put my heart and soul into this stuff, man. And it'll mess with you if you don't build a wall. If you don't build a wall of protection. Like I had investigated people getting hung in Mississippi, try to do the right thing, get the information to the authorities, and then let you down. And I used to take that real personal. Man, you know, you mess with your weight. And for me, nobody can teach me how to deal with the stuff I had dealt with. If I ever help children, if I mentor or be objecting to people, I would tell them all the stuff I got wrong. I've been living for 40 years now. I dedicated half of my existence to doing the work I'm doing now. But seeking justice from devils, you ain't gonna get it. The devil is only qualified to give you more hell. So I mean, I've been through, man. I thank God that I'm still strong. But I don't know, man. I just don't know. But yeah, that's why we do what we do. I mean, you ain't gonna find any other media outlets. I ain't disrespecting nobody else, but we do things differently around here, and we all be. I'm actually doing work in the community, man. Like this Jimmy Lunsford thing, we do this in the community every year because there's COVID. I mean, we reached out to the school children, reaching out to the elders, utilizing institutions. So I'm actually am a community organizer, But Brother Ron don't really get all the love, and it's all good because now I'm learning not to take this stuff personal no more. Just like I don't care about having moderators in the chat. You know, people like you got to develop thick skin. You know, I dealt with the Dick Gregory's of the world. Dick Gregory was like a drill sergeant for me. And somebody had the nerve to say, well, you think, Brother Ron, Dick Gregory will slap you. I'm going to tell you something. Dick Gregory wasn't a fool. He might act a fool, but he was no fool. He would not put his hands on me. That ain't how he did things. He wouldn't even put his hand on his children. He didn't believe in whipping nobody. Dick Gregory was an interesting dude, but he was slapped. Man, brother, I voted for Trump when Dick Gregory was alive. I didn't give a damn. I'm my own person, man. This is a chapter in my interesting Forrest Gump of a story. You know, like I had many Jegnas and stuff. I was blessed to have some interesting folks invest their best in me. And I owe it to them to pay it forward, to find other interesting people to invest in and to help them shine their light for the world to see. Shine your light for the world to see. I shine my light for the world. Shine my light for the world to see. I'm my own person, man. Y'all ain't learned. A lot of y'all older than me. Didn't know nothing about them Johnny A's. I got kids older than me looking for somebody to tell them what to do, man. You supposed to be telling us some game, man. I'm supposed to be able to come to an older person, a so-called elder, and learn this stuff I'm learning. I'm learning this stuff through the University of Hard Knocks, man. There's no reason why he couldn't get no check for $75,000. He owed millions, man. And that's not just him, that's black folks. So when we talk about reparations, know what you're talking about. Don't be saying, I feel like they owe me stuff. They should count my vote twice. Know about the A-bomb veterans. Know about what happened to St. Clair Alexander to make your case, man. Learn about what happened to Isidore Banks over there in West Memphis, Arkansas. Man owned 3,000 acres of land. Lotto I-55 was built on his land. He owned land that was part of the Trail of Tears. This is a black man who was killed for his land by the system. The folks that killed him for his land, their descendants own West Memphis, Arkansas. They still own the land. They built all types of homes, six-figure homes on his land. You understand? You look at Baltimore. You look at Henrietta Lacks. The medical industrial complex have used her immortal cells to make billions and billions of dollars, and her family still can't afford no health care in Baltimore. They have made an HBO movie produced by Oprah Winfrey as the star. Rebecca Skloot, was writing professor at University of Memphis. She wrote the book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Everybody made a king's ransom except for the children, the descendants of Henrietta Lacks. Even the woman that Oprah played in that movie, she passed on. Didn't get a red cent from Johns Hopkins University or from the medical industry. Get no, I'm sorry. They validate this woman like they validated St. Clair Alexander. So don't tell me about what you feel about me and what people gonna say if I say and think the way I think. Thank God for people like me. Like Dr. King said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. And I'm definitely dead. I can't get used to no hell like this. You teach your kids to suspect filth. They get done in by filth, and then you want to leave a pity parade and a hashtag parade. You teach your kids to respect the filth that disrespect us. You think you look, you talk about some Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said, when they drop the bomb over here, we gonna catch it too, because we paid taxes on those bombs to be dropped over here. We paid taxes to people get violated overseas, and you get mad and upset when that shit come back to us. Don't you know about hurricanes start on the west coast of Africa and take the same route as the transatlantic slave? Slavery happened, y'all. I know y'all love y'all indigenous. Yeah, we was indigenous. Black folks been over here forever, but you don't have to cut your nose off to spite your face, man. I talked to the great Dr. Randy Weston, one of our master teachers, man. I just like y'all keep on thinking, well, it's all about this one person. No, man, it's about the village. I had a lot of amazing black people, so-called black people pour into me over my life. Family. A lot of times your family ain't gonna understand. Look at Johnny Ace. His family should be leading like a movement to make sure this man's rightful place in history is restored. And they don't got no soldiers like that. His daughter was just 2, so she didn't really know her father. Then his brother passed on. He was a real soldier for his brother, right? But nobody ain't picking it. So black folks always leaving stuff on the battlefield. Whatever, like I'm just now learning all the people I'm related to in my family trees, right? What if I knew a lot about this? What if I knew growing up that I was related to Sister Rosetta Tharpe and Curtis Mayfield and Big Miller, one of the great Kansas City jazz shouters, blues shouters, in the league of Joe Turner and Jimmy Rush, right? Then my grandmama, grew up with Charlie Parker and performed with Jimmy Lunsford. What if I knew about this when I was coming up as a kid? I knew about Emmett Till and Medgar Evers and Burt Williams and Paul Robeson, not because they taught me in elementary school. It's because my grandma had a Black History World Book Encyclopedia from the 70s in her living room, and I would take that book and read it for hours when I was in elementary school. They didn't teach me this in 5th grade or in kindergarten. I learned this from home, and my grandma had enough sense to invest in an encyclopedia set, and nobody else used it but me. Then my mama brought a World Book Encyclopedia set. My mama said he read it from A to Z. I didn't read it from A to Z. I looked through it. I didn't read all the encyclopedias like my mama always said, but I read a lot of it. This before all this Google. See, I'm we call it Exennial, like cross between Generation X and the Millennial. I call myself the Oregon Trail generation. Like I still can remember when we was playing Oregon Trail on the Oregon Trail on a computer in elementary school, and I didn't start using the internet really until college, my first year at Washington University in St. Louis. That was back in the fall of '98. I didn't know nothing about no internet. I remember when I went to visit my sperm donor, my father, Mr. Scorpio, born on Halloween down in Texas. He sat me in his apartment while he went to work as an engineer, still as an electrical engineer. He's a brilliant man, interesting man. But he said, here's the computer, man. He had AOL dial-up, American Online dial-up. And I'm looking at this thing. I said, so how do you access this stuff? Like I know how to type in the search box, but I didn't know how to access links. I didn't know how to work no damn internet back in the summer of 97, spring break 97. You know nothing about no internet. They're just beginning. But some we call it Xennial. I like that term because I feel like I'm an old man millennial. And I'm not necessarily a generation Xer. I'm in between. I'm transitional era, transitional generation. But anyway, call it Xennial, something like that. I call it the Oregon Trail generation. Oh, we could be like the Dumber Party. What they call it, the Dumber Party? End up eating themselves, getting lost in the sauce. I don't know. Y'all can look it up. Take a look. It's all online. But I just wanted to bring up what happened in St. Clair, Alexander in this narrative. Because you look at in that one family, all that tragedy. Some of it's instant tragedy, some of it's delayed tragedy, but tragedy nonetheless. That's our story as Black people. So yeah, I can't believe I talked this long. But moving along. I also want to play an interview I did with James Salem. James Salem was a professor from the University of Alabama, I believe. He did a definitive biography on Johnny Ace. He cleared up some of the misconceptions about the legacy of Johnny Ace and why he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's called The Late Great Johnny Ace. I interviewed this man October 21st, 2009. You know, it's interesting. October 21st actually is the birthday of one of my Jagners, the righteous ancestor, Mr. Emerson Abel Jr. You know, he was a prodigy of Jimmy Lunsford's School of Music Education, was the band director for Isaac Hayes at Manassas, kicked him out the band, and I'm working for Isaac Hayes and a number of other superstars in his amazing career as a musician and as well as an educator. But he was born October 21st, I believe. We did a special tribute to him on Christmas Eve, right? So James Salem wrote this book. He actually thought that by him writing this book, making the case for Johnny Ace, that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will get him, inducted. But as of 2020, Johnny Ace has yet to be inducted to anybody's Hall of Fame except for the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Award. He's a Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Award honoree. So I guess there is a Hall of Fame because of what I created. We all be through the Jimmy Lunsford Jamboree Festival movement. We honor him in 2014, but he has yet to have any y'all want white folks to validate us. Y'all don't care about Brother Ron and Black people acknowledging Black excellence, past and present. But y'all care white folks honor y'all. Dr. Randy Short, he would trip me out. He said, treat him white. I said, brother, I am treating you white. I don't want to deal with white people every day like that directly because of my trauma from dealing with PWIs, predominantly white institutions. I have a lot of trauma that I deal with that's dealing with white people in their institutions. So when Dr. Short say treat them white, I treat you white, brother, sometimes because I don't like dealing with them directly all the time because I know their history. I know their credit report. So white folks know who they really are. And yet you Black folks refuse to see what's right in front of your face. If you look at the history, what's right behind you, we in Kwanzaa land. So you look at Sankofa, look back at the past for inspiration and understanding and overstanding and insight for your present condition and for the future. Y'all want to play games and y'all want to have kids. I don't understand people that want to have people they can't protect. Protect Black women, but you ain't protecting your womb. So, how can black man can't protect himself? And y'all, we sure ain't protecting the children. We talking about save the babies and save the children. We sure ain't protecting them. Can we let everybody? We let the wolves come in. We let the foxes in the hen house all the time. That's our sad, sorry story as a people. You always pointing fingers. Well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. We all failed. The village failed, right? Like, paraphrase the African proverb, when the village rejects the child, you can't complain when the child burns the village down. With that documentary about the Nation of Islam that Mike Wallace and Louis Lomax produced, y'all don't even know who Louis Lomax is, right? Y'all talking about we are the Black media, we love the pioneers. Look up Louis Lomax. They produced that documentary called The Hate They Hate Produced about the Nation of Islam. They introduced the American white mainstream public to Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam, right? Well, we like Dr. Frankenstein. We produce monsters we can't stand, but they are monsters. The children we produce and leave on the battlefield and leave them at the will of the devils, we produce these monsters. We're afraid of the things that we produce. Now it's time to reclaim the narrative, the detox. And this is why I do what I do. And we all be with this history, get up on my soapbox to tell y'all this stuff. And now y'all got a nerve to talk about me. I don't have any children. If I had children, I wouldn't mind having children, to be honest with you. Ain't from lack of trying. There's other stuff involved. But my thing is this. Why have children if you don't care enough about yourself to do right by said children? Do right by them. To do right by them, to encourage them, to invest in them, to love them, to do right by them. Why reproduce? Self-destruction. We heading for self-destruction. But let me play this partial interview. Probably play most of it. That's so important. What I did with Professor James Salem. Unfortunately, Professor James Salem passed away in the summer of 2012. But I was lucky to interview him October 21st, 2009. And so for posterity, so let's get on with that interview. Thank you all for tuning in. Show's getting longer and longer. But I just had to say these things because I want it. It's my show. You can go somewhere else. Hell, I don't care. But thank you all who are open to receiving the messages, the words that come out of my mouth, and this information, man. Because it's so much to talk about. It is so much to talk about, and we too busy worried about some TikTok and some Cardi B. And Cardi B, I don't hate Cardi B. Cardi B is like the new Fran Dresser, right? The lady who did that show, that interesting voice, and she's like Lucille Ball. She's highly intelligent, but she plays the part of a clown, of a court jester. But Cardi B is very smart, and I ain't gonna waste more time talking about it. But let's get on with Professor James Salem talking about the late great Johnny Ace, and rest in peace to James Salem. Thank you for doing this, because he was gonna write another book about the 50s, but the universe soul God told him, you got to talk about the late great Johnny Ace, man, and he made it happen. So we play this in his honor and also in the honor of the late great Johnny Ace. And this is We All Be Radio, news free Dixie for the 21st century.
This is We All Be News and Radio.
Ron Hurd. Get up out of bed. Let's go. Let's go. Ron Hurd. That's the word. Get out of bed. Give me a jingle. My number 051. Get out of bed. Let's go. Don't be afraid. This is Herb Smith calling you. Herb Smith. All right, I know you're famous and all that kind of stuff, but let's go. Get out of bed.
And that was the late, great Johnny Ace with his posthumous hit, Pleasure My Love, which came out after he passed away at the tender age of 25 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Probably one of the worst tragedies in American music history. And this is your host, the artivist, R2C2H2, and welcome to another wonderful, informative, edutaining edition of We All Be Radio. And tonight's topic, of course, is remembering the late, great Johnny Ace, rock and roll's first star and casualty, with our featured and honorable guest, the Dr. James Salem, who is the author of probably the best source on the late, great Johnny Ace. I mean, it's one of the best books I read on anybody as far as a musician's biography is concerned. He is the author of the late, great Johnny Ace and the transition from R&B to rock and roll. He is a wonderful professor of American Studies at the University of Alabama. This guy, no doubt, has great taste in music and pop culture. And it's just an honor to have him on. Is Dr. James Salem, are you there?
Hey, I'm right here.
Welcome to We All Be Radio, sir. It's truly an honor, like I said before. I think you did an extraordinary job on really capturing not only the mystery of who was Johnny Ace, but also the environment that created such a person in the first place. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
And I have to ask you first and foremost, what got you started on Johnny Ace? Why did you pick a book to do about Johnny Ace?
Well, I was always what I was doing. I was going to write a book about what I called the season of 1954-55, and it's that like a school year, 54-55. That starts like right after Brown versus Board of Education and ends around the Montgomery boycott. In that season where rock and roll happened, James Dean youth movies happened. It was a dynamic period, in my view, invention of American youth culture, the rock and roll breaking out, black artists breaking out into the white mainstream. That was my intention, and I thought that what I would do is write the middle chapter first. And if you're doing 54-55, then the middle is like December 54, January 55, and that was going to be my Johnny Ace story. But then he just took over the whole. I never did write that other book. I just wrote this one.
Wow. I mean, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
I was lucky to get that inquest proceedings of his death. Nobody had ever seen that before. That was they were in cartons or crates in some warehouse in Houston, and I'd been trying to find everything I could about him. I went to Houston many times, and the secretary for the Justice of the Peace in that jurisdiction took mercy on me. And after I came back home to Tuscaloosa, she talked her boss into going to the warehouse, and they found those old files, and she sent them to me.
Oh, wow. How was it to get those files in your hand? I mean, the actual files were sent to you?
Well, they were photocopies of the originals, but I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And most of those are in the book of the inquest and the depositions from Big Mama and the other people in the room. But that was finally proof of, for example, when he died, because everybody's always making him die on Christmas Eve.
Right.
Because that sounds a little more, I guess, pathetic. But then, of course, it turns out that it was Christmas night when he killed himself backstage in that North Side dressing room at Houston City Auditorium.
Now, I know you did a great job of, I guess, capturing the spirit of the times. I mean, describe how, to me, in the book, you did a great job, because when I tell people about Johnny Ace, a lot of people don't know, of that age, don't know who he was. But when I tell them that, in order to get Johnny Ace, you had to book B.B. King and Bobby Blue Band and his own acts. They let you know what type of star he was. Can you just tell us, the magnitude of a guy like that dying that young? Go ahead.
Hank Williams died about 2 years before that.
Right.
He was a little older. He was 29. But
that's real old right there.
Wow. But country music had a fit over that kind of loss. Williams was about as self-destructive, or maybe even more so, than Ace was. But the thing about Johnny Ace, to me, the sad part of the story is that he got right to the top of the mountain, and then he could not survive to make the big money that was coming when all of a sudden rhythm and blues turned into rock and roll. And black performers got on the big white radio stations in heavy rotation, and they were going to get on television. They were going to get in the biggest clubs and venues in the country, and they were going to make some big money finally. But this guy just made the little money.
Hey, you did a great job of describing like the the life of a musician. Like I guess they work the chitlin circuit, a black performer.
Right.
Like you said, a one-nighter sometimes would be like 800 miles apart.
Well, I know there are.
To yourself, right?
I know that was just incredible, and I got most of that. You know, Johnny Ace never sat for an interview. Nobody ever did an article on him. Not at the time. There were even very few photographs of him. But I talked to a lot of people who knew him, a lot of people who were involved with him, and then I read everything I could about those people who were doing what he was doing at the time. And the best account of being on the road as a black performer is Charles Sawyer's book about B.B. King. Now, I do make some distinctions in the book about the difference between King and Ace. B.B. King was, he was like a plantation owner. He had a bus. He controlled the bus. He hired the band. He fired people. He was in charge of everything. When things went bad, he had to fix it. I mean, he was the man. And Johnny Ace was just the headliner. And who just he just did his thing and didn't have any responsibilities, probably because he couldn't have fulfilled any. But he was an altogether different guy. But I think that, like calendar 1954, he could have performed as many as 350 to 60 one-nighters in that year. I mean, he had no home. He never did have a home once he left Memphis.
And it's funny, like you say all this, and he was just 25 when he left this world. I keep on thinking about the people who were at 25. What if Duke Ellington died when he was 25? Nobody will remember Duke Ellington.
I know.
Or Miles Davis or Quincy Jones. None of them guys.
Everybody's best work came a whole lot after that, didn't it?
Yes, sir. And also I was thinking about, because when I was reading his story about his how he grew up in a Kojic home, and his father was a minister. And I was thinking about how he parallels, Sam Cooke life, who also, he's from the Delta. Sam Cooke's from Clarksdale. His father was a minister. And it seemed like, Johnny, he just totally rejected that lifestyle once he grew up. Where
You ever had a dream? One you'd be willing to do anything for? Who does your hair?
Whereas Sam Cooke, he actually started in gospel music and then crossed over. What do you think about they both ended up dying tragically young.
Yeah.
And Sam Cooke had a chance to really cross over. You think that Johnny Ace, if he had lived a little longer, would have been as big as Sam Cooke or Ray Charles when they crossed over?
Well, I really don't know, because so much of his popular reputation rests on "Pledging My Love," and so much of "Pledging My Love" rests upon the fact that he died playing so carelessly with his life. I mean, there's a kind of romantic image of the musician, especially the black musician, I'm afraid to say it, in white culture.
Yeah, you see it in rap even. I look at Biggie, the Notorious B.I.G. or Tupac. You see it today.
Yes, you do. You do. So, whether he had the stuff, whether he was going to stick, he was depressed, he was fat, he had his hair conked. It didn't look like he was doing very well in that the period, say 3 or 4 months before his death. And he was being, this guy was, as they say, he was rode hard and put up wet, playing so many one-night stands. But that's how they did it in Houston with anything to do with Don Roby. He was never going to give him any money out of record sales or royalties or songwriters or anything. If they wanted to have a life, if they wanted to make a living, all of his people had to make it on the road with personal, with live performances. That's how the system worked. And it kept them away from him and out of his hair. And it gave them some money to live on, but essentially they were having to hustle it on their own.
I mean, it's incredible because you know what I said Sam Cooke earlier, but obviously Sam Cooke had some business sense because he owned his own publishing.
Yeah.
And unlike you know what Johnny Ace went through, I just wanted to ask you as well. I think it's interesting because let's see how he started off. I know I'm stationed in Memphis as we speak, and we know Johnny came out of Memphis. He went to Booker T. Washington. Memphis has such a mythological place as far as American culture is concerned, not just black culture, but also if you think about the fact that Tennessee Williams did his first play in Memphis.
Right.
And you know, Richard Wright, you know, a black author, one of the greatest of the 20th century of any color, grew up in North Memphis. And you think about, you know, Booker T. Washington, where, you know, so many phenomenal musicians came out of Booker T. Washington, or you look at Jimmy Lawrence from Manassas High School. I mean, he comes out this rich heritage.
And you haven't even mentioned Elvis yet, have you?
I haven't mentioned Elvis. Elvis with the Moon. And I mean, I'm asking this: what effect did Johnny Ace have on Elvis? Did he have any type of influence over Elvis?
I know that. Look, I can't prove it. But I know that Elvis haunted Beale Street, where they knew, and I like this. Someone told me they knew him by face. I mean, they didn't know who he was, but he'd been around there. He bought his clothes at Lansky's, you know, and he'd been around. He was bugging them about the clubs. He was always trying to get in. I mean, Elvis was like black churches better than he liked white churches. But I'm pretty sure that Elvis saw Ace perform at the Mitchell Hotel or at the Club Handy, maybe, that was down a floor. I'm just pretty sure that he did. And then, of course, then the irony is that Elvis puts out Pledge of My Love as the B-side of his last record.
Oh, wow.
And and Ace's last record, the A-side is Pledge of My Love. So I think there was a connection there. Ernest Withers, the photographer, said that Johnny Ace was a lookup for Elvis. I mean, it's somebody that he had to have been fascinated by and with if he were interested in music. And he, what is he? I forget how much older he was, 8 years or 10. I forget now, but enough so he could be a lookup for Elvis.
Yeah, I was thinking it's funny because they're like different sides of the same coin, so to speak. Here you have a black man that sound white, you have a white man that sound black, and they both from Memphis. One from South Memphis, Johnny Ace, the other from North Memphis.
Yes.
Yeah, Tupelo. And they like the same. I mean, you got. Go ahead.
And the people were both. I mean, Johnny's father came from North Mississippi. And so did Elvis's people come from Mississippi. The interesting thing, the real reversal, is that the Presleys lived in project housing, and the Alexanders, Johnny Ace's family, were said to be a substance family. The father had a steady job, worked at the Army Depot, and had a couple churches on the weekends. So they were.
Only in America, right? Huh? Only in America.
Only in America.
I'm actually also, you mentioned the Mitchell Hotel and the Club Handy. How important was that in the life of the Memphis musicians? How important was Andrew Somebody Mitchell's?
From what I know about the 50s, first the Mitchell Hotel was the colored hotel in all of Memphis. So anybody any African American musician who was playing Memphis from out of town would stay there. Had to stay there. No other place to stay. And the reputation was that after you played, didn't matter where it was, in Arkansas or up in, when you got done playing, you went to the Mitchell Hotel to get a cup of chili and then to jam. And they did it all the time. Everybody did it. It was the one place where the hot music happened virtually every night and virtually for all night. So, and Andrew Mitchell, they called him Sunbeam, was something of a benefactor, I think, for musicians. And when they were down on their luck, I think he helped them out. This is, when Ace left home when he was
God, he was 21. I think he was 21 when he left home. He married the 16-year-old girl who was pregnant, and he dropped her off at his family's house, and then he never lived at home again. If he ever lived anywhere, it was at the Mitchell Hotel. But he was never in town for more than a couple days ever in a year. And when he died, the only possessions he had were in a couple boxes at the Mitchell Hotel.
I mean, that's crazy. He sold all these records there. I mean, sold out, out one-nighters, whatever, and,
Yes.
people like B.B. King and Bobby Blue Band, all, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, whatever, blues icons.
I tried to get him. I tried to do that. I was not successful. Listen, Johnny Ace isn't even in the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame.
He's not?
No.
I mean, what's going on? I mean, like,
that thing is it's just a bunch of phony balonies who run those things.
But why not? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was an early influence. Obviously, he thought, I mean, his Toy songs, I mean, the way, it's incredible.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, I mean, what do you feel like over your years of? I mean, how long did it take you to write the book in its totality? How long did it take you to write this? I mean, I know it was a labor of love.
I know. It was 10 years, I suppose, but not the writing. The writing was maybe, I don't know, 18 months or so. But it was just learning everything I needed to learn, and that's, of course, if you're an academic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun part of it, is the learning. Hard part then is sitting down and I mean, taking it in is the fun part, and getting it organized and putting it on paper is the hard part. So I really did. I took my time, and I found his photographer, and I found the guy who discovered him, and I found the engineer whose studio he did most of his recording in Houston, and I found the woman who was his manager and who worked for Roby.
Evelyn Johnson, right?
Evelyn Johnson,
which is an incredible story in itself.
I know. I think she passed away because her birthday cards last 2 years have come back with no such address. I think she's gone now. I lost track of her. Everyone in the business was amazed that she talked to me.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
Because she never talked to anybody.
Wow.
But I said I wanted to bring my wife with me to meet her. And that she said, okay.
Wow.
And so I went with my wife, and that was the magic bullet to get her cooperation.
Now I'll ask you something. Let's talk about. I guess go back a little bit about how was Johnny Ace discovered? Right. I know he was in a group with B.B. King and Bobby Blue Band and Earl Forrest and Adolph Duncan called the Bill Streeters. It was B.B. King's group, of course.
This is the story. David James Mattis. David James was his radio name at WDIA.
Mm-hmm.
He had this. Well, I'll take it back further.
Mm-hmm.
When B.B. King comes to Memphis for the second time, and he lucks out, he gets a personal appearance, and then he gets a radio show on WDIA. And on WDIA, on his radio show, he promotes his personal appearances. And then when he goes to play the clubs, then he promotes his radio show. And pretty soon he has a level of popularity that makes it necessary for him to have a supporting group and not just be playing guitar by himself.
Right.
So he puts one together, and the first musician, almost everyone agrees, the first person he hires is Johnny Ace playing piano. And pretty soon he has a quartet. But then what's his hit? He's got a big hit in 51 or 52. 3 o'clock blues, could it be? Anyway, he gets launched into the national scene, and so he leaves Memphis, and Ace essentially inherits that band. Okay? So David James is getting them together, and they're going to do some sessions. He's WDIA at the time has to go off the air, I think, at sunset. So the studios are available in the evening. James wants this group to put out a song, and he's got these words that he gives Bobby Bland to learn, and they come back, and Bland hasn't learned them because he can't read.
Oh wow!
So James is angry about that, and so he gets Ace to do it. And that's, we're talking about My Song now, and those are David James's lyrics, and what Johnny does is take a Ruth Brown song, So Long, and using that same chord progression. It's a 1 minor 6 minor 2 5, and he uses that. That's what Ace does, and he does it 4 or 5 of these songs of his heart ballads, and he just fakes out a new melody with using James's lyrics, and that's My Song. And it starts getting, people who hear it really like it, though it's pretty crude. Do you know this song? Have you heard it?
I'm going to play it right now.
Okay.
So people can understand what you're talking about. My Song by Johnny Ace, and we will be right back on We All Be Radio. And that was My Song by the late, great Johnny Ace, and this is We All Be Radio. And I'm back with Dr. James Salem, really one of the best authorities on the life and greatness of the late, great Johnny Ace. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
You are such great. You got great timing. Because that's all I'm trying to get you to do. Try to introduce the song.
Okay.
So people get an idea about what you're saying about the crudeness of the background, but then you look at his voice.
I know. Well, the voice has got something. This is, the industry is going to call this a heart ballad. And the piano is out of tune, kind of, and the mix is not all that great, but people who heard that song heard something very nice about it. And Mattis, Duke, makes Duke Records. He makes a number, and he designs a label that looks like the front of a Cadillac. Uses purple and gold because those are royal colors, and there's already he finds Duke, he can't use King, he can't use Queen, right? Because all those are taken. So he makes up Duke, and the record has some success, but this was what every entrepreneur, independent record company faced in that period, and that is, if they had a success, then they went ahead and produced more records, But the fact was, they weren't going to get paid for them. That was the problem. It isn't that they couldn't distribute them. You couldn't get people who would sell them. You just couldn't get people who would pay for them. And that's what happened to Mattis. And all of a sudden, he's got $5,000 in this thing, and he knows he's got something going, but he can't hang on. And he gets talked into sharing his business by taking on a partner, and that's Don Roby from Houston, who owns Peacock Records. Roby is a pro. And in fact, it takes Roby about 3 weeks, I think, or maybe less than that, to start promoting My Song, to get it. He knows how to advertise on Billboard. He knows how to get to the territories. He probably knows what DJs need to be paid off. And all of a sudden that thing takes off, and it's a hit it's the #1 song in R&B for more than 2 months.
Oh wow! He took that little song, like the crudeness of it, and the Valentine, and made it to a hit record for 2 months.
Made it into a hit record. It was 9 weeks #1. It was 20 weeks on the charts. 20 weeks, that's what, 5 months, huh? 5 months.
Yeah, wow.
And now Rhythm and Blues, it didn't operate exactly like pop music did, because none of these independent and indies had national distribution for their records. I mean, they couldn't get them out to every place in the country on the same day like RCA could, or Decca, or any of the big guys. So they kind of worked they're called territories, you know. You start with New Orleans and go to the Carolinas, and get Harlem. You had to do them almost one by one, sometimes driving there with the records in the trunk of your car. But Roby, this guy, Roby was a man. He was probably a gangster, kind of. That's what we believe. That's what a lot of people believe. But he had such great sense of class, and he wanted black music to have to be classy. He didn't. The whole thing of gut bucket blues did not interest him, because it was old timey and it was low class, right? And he liked this classy stuff that had some musicality to it. And so that's what I think he heard in Ace was, this guy has got some pipes. This guy's got some class. And so he buys him suits and gets him a band, and pretty soon he's on the road and working on the Roby plantation.
You know, you said Don Roby, you said gangster. You know what I thought of while I was reading him? He did a great job of basically adding flesh to the bone of the character of Don Roby, because when I first read about Don Roby in your book, it was like he's a cross between a Barry Gordy and Russell Simmons and Suge Knight.
Yeah, okay.
He's like the character you love to hate, though. He's like he's like one of those villains or whatever that you really like, that you admire and you respect, because he got so much complexity to him.
That's true. That's true. He's of course, it's interesting that now he predates Gordy by about 10 years, or maybe a little bit longer. But Barry Gordy had the kind of operation that Roby would have loved. It was so classy, you know. Gordy sent the boy groups off to dancing school, and he sent the Supremes off to practically a finishing school so they could learn to be a lady and cross their legs right and hold a drink and a cigarette. I mean, he wanted it.
We got in the car and we were driving down PCH, and I said,
he wanted to be the top of the top, and he got that sense. That's what Roby wanted too. That's why he liked Ace, I think, because he heard in him the kind of class that would bring respect to the kind of rhythm and blues.
Yeah, it's funny because we think about the era they was operating in. I mean, there's no Twitter, there's no MySpace, no internet, no doubt. But at the same time, they was able to make a way when there was no way. When R&B was still on a lower rung of really of the music industry. It's kind of like how rap was in the 80s, where MTV would not even play a rap video.
That's true.
And now you look at the culture, it's all dominated by hip hop culture.
That's true. That's true. Well, rhythm and blues was when Roby started out. It was black music in a black style with black performers for a black audience, and the venues were black. Okay, I mean, he didn't. White people didn't know about Ace until Pledging My Love.
Really?
I mean, but all black people knew about him. My God, he was in your town. He was in this town in Tuscaloosa. He was in everybody's town.
Right.
And he had played some of those gun games in towns. That's what. There's a big. The people at the Cleveland Call-and-Post wrote articles about the girls in Cleveland who were just shaking in their boots because they had been in hotel rooms with Johnny when he was playing with that gun when he was in Cleveland.
He was 22, right? He had a 22.
22, yeah.
Let me ask you this though: you think he really was was he suicidal, or he just?
No, he wasn't suicidal.
Okay.
And there's a term for this I learned, and I don't know they're called equivocal deaths. Equivocal, and almost all these deaths they looked at a bunch of deaths where mostly where men shot themselves, and always it was to impress a girl, or win a bet, or had something to do with being manly and being living on the edge. So I think he did not mean to kill himself. I know he didn't, and that's why there were such stories. I mean, it was when I started looking into Ace, almost everything written about him was wrong. I mean, there were allegations that Roby had him killed.
I heard that. That's the one I heard.
Yeah, right. He had him killed. The guy, he didn't have anything in the can. Why? If you're going to have him killed, I think you'd stock up on his material. And all kinds of all such nonsense like that, or that someone sneaked in and put a bullet in his gun, and that was bogus too. I mean, if you start playing with guns the way he was playing with guns, you can get hurt.
Right, and you know what? I was reading
especially if you're drunk.
Right. So was he drunk? I mean, they did a toxicology report. Was it possible back then to do a toxicology report?
I don't think that was not part of the autopsy. I don't believe. But there were pint bottles of vodka all through that dressing room, and he was said to be drinking heavily that night.
Now, I know I read an account from one of his band members, Curtis Tillman, I guess his blues guitar great. Curtis Tillman, he was there that night. He said it wasn't Russian roulette. A lot of people said it's not Russian roulette. That he actually was checking his gun to see if there was any bullets. I mean, he was like, it wasn't like he was trying to kill himself. Like you said, he was not trying to kill himself. But he said in your account, from Johnny Otis, from what people told the great Johnny Otis and Big Mama Thornton, from what I read in the book, is that when the gun went off, that he was so shocked that his hair stood up.
Yeah, that was the story. That's Evelyn Johnson said that, and some other people have said that his hair just shot right up. I don't know if that's possible. I guess it's a little bit. I mean, it could have happened, I guess, but see, he didn't really. I mean, we think of Russian roulette is spinning the chamber, right, and putting the gun to your temple, but he didn't do that. He pointed the gun at people and then clicked it. That's what he did all the time. And he had a way I think, of knowing where that bullet was, but whether it was safe to do that or not, it offended a lot of people when he put that gun to their face and clicked.
I bet it would. You're right. I mean, it would fit me. I mean, I don't like guns per se, but I mean, you point a gun at somebody, it's like you didn't think about the gun in your face. You didn't think about nothing else. Yeah,
and one of the stories. Now, it wasn't in the deposition. It wasn't in the official papers of his death. Was it? I think it's Joe Hamilton, the piano player, and he was in the dressing room with his girlfriend. And Ace clicked that gun at her, and he said, "I don't appreciate that. Why don't you just click it on your own damn self?" And he said, "Well, I'll show you that it won't shoot." And so then he pulls the trigger. And interesting, his girlfriend, Johnny's girlfriend, got her forehead to his forehead on the other side.
Wow. Because it was a 22, though, it stayed in his head, right?
It did not exit. That's right.
I mean, man, wow. Talking about luck of the draw right there. I was able to talk to Olivia Gibbs. I was intrigued by the story she was giving to the black press at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, were you able to talk to her? Is she still around?
I tried to find her. I never got close.
Wow.
And I didn't know if she were alive or not. I had absolutely no clue. I tried and tried. Nobody knew who she was or where she was. So I never got that story, but she was I mean, she had, she was courted by the black newspapers for a little bit after that.
Right.
And there's a picture of her in one of those papers, I don't know, Pittsburgh, or I think it's Pittsburgh Courier, in a bathing suit. But then she disappears, and everybody forgets about this,
But it's amazing that the white press pay. I mean, the fact that when they had this funeral on January 2nd in Memphis, that almost 5,000 folks showed up for that.
Yeah.
The white press did not cover it at all because it was a black, just another black thing or whatever.
Because it's a black story. That's right.
I'm saying that's a big story for anybody, right? You got 5,000 folks show up to your funeral.
I know it. Well, it's almost as big as Boss Crump's funeral in Memphis. But,
right.
Now the white papers in Houston covered the story, but not the white newspapers in Memphis. And it's just kind of sad. But you have to remember, in those Jim Crow days, well, there are two things I want to say. One is, in those Jim Crow days, that was the perfect environment for an entrepreneur like Don Roby to make his fortune dealing in black music for black people. Because it was a self-contained culture. And he knew it, he knew what he was doing. He knew what the parameters were. That's really all he had to deal with, black institutions. There are those. Nelson George is always, not always, but in, I forget the name of his book, he mourns the two things that integration lost for African-American community. One was black baseball.
Right.
And the other was rhythm and blues, which was black music for black people. Now, there's a lot to gain, but those are two things that went out, and didn't come back.
And welcome, family. That was the late great James Salem, Professor James Salem, talking about the late great Johnny Ace and so much black culture. You can actually hear the entire interview in the We All Be TV archives on We All Be TV at YouTube for the time being. Anyway, about 20 more minutes, but you get the idea, right? The importance of telling our stories on our own terms, to honor the folks that deserve our love and respect, and make sure these stories don't die with the last fan. Like, a lot of Johnny Ace's fans, they are going to the great beyond, to that rhythm and blues concert in the sky or down below. We all gotta go, right? So it's important that we tell these stories of our ancestors and keep their memories alive. Like with Jimmy Lunsford. Like, I drew this picture of the late great Johnny Ace, and I presented a print of that picture to his daughter. The one right here, back here. Trying to get used to this. Yeah, right here, I'm picking his nose, kind of. That picture, and I presented the print to his daughter. I didn't know how she was gonna take it, because that's how he killed himself. He shot himself in the head playing with his 22 at 25, and she said, "Well, I understand." She didn't take offense to the picture and like that, but it's our truth, man. And I pride myself on being a truth teller. But you can't trust everything you read either. And I was talking about Dr. Randy Weston, right? I don't think I finished that story about Dr. Randy Weston, the jazz great. The only person I know of who diagnosed with both Langston Hughes and Thelonious Monk. When you got diagnosed like that, Langston Hughes and Thelonious Monk, you can't help but be an interesting person, right? He actually was required by Langston Hughes to play at his funeral. He played at Langston Hughes' funeral. Langston Hughes had it in his last request that Dr. Randy Weston and his band performed for him at his funeral. So Dr. Randy Weston told me, like, hey, I was engaged. I was gonna marry Duke Ellington's sister, Ruth Ellington. And I'm gonna tell you how crazy this stuff is. White supremacy, this religion, and this racist system. And I always separate the two now. There's a difference between a racist system and white supremacy. It's funny. I respect a lot of these white conservatives. Their politics is interesting to be on point. When it comes to understanding what a systemic racism looked like, they lost as hell. That's why I part ways with a lot of white conservatives. They don't know nothing what they talk about. because they are the beneficiaries of a racist system that provides white privilege. White privilege is the greatest affirmative action program going. And I brought all this up to say, with Dr. Randy Weston, let me finish this point. Dr. Randy Weston said that America is Africa. America is Africa. His father was from Panama, black and proud, RBG, Marcus Garvey. His mom was from Virginia, black and proud, RBG, Marcus Garvey. And his wife was from Senegal, I believe. And on his last wife, I don't know how many times he were married, but what I'm saying is we are the original people everywhere. So we the indigenous folks everywhere. So stop getting it twisted, okay? Stop getting confused that you can only play one note or one chord change. I mean, it's bigger than that. I understand? And that's why we do what we do. I respect people's opinions about things, but it's just opinions. But, you know, I'm going to tell you, the reason why I brought up Dr. Randy Weston and I brought up Ruth Ellington was because back in 2005, I was doing my book tour for my first book, James Reese Europe. Right here. This is my first book I wrote and illustrated about James Reese Europe, Jazz Lieutenant. I call him the Jazz Lieutenant. And it made the Smithsonian Institute books for kids and young adults, recommended reading back in 2005. This is something I wrote and illustrated myself. And I'm going to dedicate myself to doing more of these books. I got to update this book because so much happened since 2005. James Reese Europe is actually getting more recognition now. I mean, it's amazing. But this was George Gershwin when he wrote James Reese Europe. This is the guy he used to listen to playing piano out, you know, when he was a little kid outside this nightclub in Harlem. Black folks we are amazing. But it was a person who reviewed the book at the Smithsonian. He's actually one of the founders of making April National Jazz Appreciation Month. This dude told me, after talking to me about Wynton Marsalis, how he came to Smithsonian to look up the arrangements and stuff of Duke Ellington, the one and only Edward Kennedy Ellington, arguably the greatest American composer this country ever produced. Arguably. We love him madly. That's a visionary. Could not win a Pulitzer during his lifetime. They denied him a Pulitzer in 1966 at the age of 67. And he said something because he had so much class. He said, God don't want me to be famous too young. Duke Ellington was amazing. He was a historian of the first order. Yeah, a lot of y'all talk about Dr. John Henry Clark, respect to the ancestor, J.A. Rogers, respect to the ancestor. But he put our story to song. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Black, brown, and beige concert is about the Black American experience. Debuted at Carnegie Hall back in 43. Duke Ellington was always telling Black people stories. When a black man's blue. I love that song from the 20s. When a black man's blue. What did I do to be so black and blue? That's Fats Waller right there. But this dude told me before I went back home to Memphis, I went up to the Smithsonian to connect with this guy. He gave me a favorable review, allowed my book to make it on the Smithsonian Institute list for jazz books for kids and young adults. This man looked me in my eye in the Smithsonian after telling me a story about how Wynton connected with him to get that Duke Ellington arrangement, which led to his winning the Pulitzer for his groundbreaking work, really, which was Duke Ellington's blueprint, Blood on the Fields, right? Y'all need to check out Wynton, Blood on the Field. It won him the Pulitzer. When they denied Duke the Pulitzer, or Pulitzer, whatever you call it, Pulitzer, who cares, right? Kendrick Lamar became the first rapper to win a Pulitzer or Pulitzer, right? You could make a state, you could make the case. There was a lot of other rap albums deserving for Kendrick Lamar's rap album, right? And Kendrick Lamar, he's one of my favorite rappers. I respect him. He's a game changer. I love it. He respects the culture. But you can make the case. It's so many rappers. I mean, Tupac never won a Grammy. And that's hard to get your head around for me. Tupac had a lot of great anthems that hold up today. Keep your head up. Dear Mama, Brenda's Got a Baby. He have made songs that last. Tupac is in the same class of a Sam Cooke or Curtis Mayfield or Marvin Gaye for me. And this is my opinion. But what I'm saying is that this dude looked me in my eye, this so-called expert on jazz, and told me that Duke Ellington did not have any other siblings. I told him I read it in Duke's autobiography that he had a sister named Ruth. He said no. And this guy was known as a Duke Ellington expert. Work at Smithsonian. So-called, all this guy, he just know he's a white guy, right? Whitey on the moon, right? He knows everything. But here's the thing. That was 2005. And what was troubling was the fact that Duke Ellington had a sister. I met Randy Weston in 2014 when he did a tribute to James Reese Europe, a concert, I think at the Skirball Center up in NYU. I had a chance to meet him. We both big fans of James Reese Europe. And he told me in conversations that he was engaged to Duke Ellington's sister at one point. She was like 11 years his senior, I believe. He was born in 1926. She was born in 1915. Duke was born in 1898. So he was 16 years older than his sister. And, he was basically a caretaker for her. She was a very educated woman. She helped run his publishing for him. He made her the person that organized his publishing. And the reason why I say that this dude was arguing with me, I ain't gonna say we argued, but this man was so standing on his square that Duke Ellington had no siblings. He keep on telling me, he didn't have no siblings. I said, yes, he did. He talked about it in his book, his autobiography about his sister. And Music is His Mistress. Something like the title, like And Music is His Mistress. That's his autobiography. It's worth a reading. And here's the thing. You gotta come with the evidence, as Thelonious Monk was saying in one of his songs, the evidence, right? Give y'all the evidence. That's Duke Ellington's sister, Ruth, as a young woman. The Crisis magazine, July 1941. That's Duke Ellington's sister, beautiful woman. Duke Ellington's little sister, his only sibling. Duke lost his mom in 1935. He suffered a major depression. Lost his father, who worked at the White House for presidents, kind of like the butler, the real butler, so to speak. He died in 1937. So his sister was his only connection left to his immediate family. He was much older than her. I can relate. I got a brother that's 16 years younger than me. But he was like a father figure for her, looked out for her. But he said this woman didn't exist. This white dude that was an expert on Duke Ellington at the Smithsonian, right? So let me read her New York Times obituary that came out in 2004, 1 year before I had this conversation with the white man, right? And let me show this. Because, y'all don't believe a black man. Our own people don't trust us. Y'all make mistakes. I want to show this right quick to show you the evidence. Oh my God, the life I lead, man. You see, I can't. They won't let me teach your kids. I tried. Lord knows I tried. They used to call me in college Mr. Unteachable. I had professors in the art school at Washington University. They see me coming down the hallway. They said, "Oh, you the guy they call Mr. Unteachable." I said, "Who the hell called me Mr. Unteachable?" Because you don't do what we tell you to do. I said, I think for myself, and how you have a style already, how you know who you are already, and you supposed to be in school to learn who you are. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I had the problem with teachers I never had classes from. They call me Mr. Unteachable, right? Even women, you don't listen to everything. Like women, it's funny to me. I'm 40, man. I'm a grown man. But women would tell me, Ron, you don't never listen to what I tell you to do. I said, I do listen to you. You give your advice and input. Does not mean that I'm going to agree to, do what you tell me to do. I'm not a slave. I'm not a boy. You're not my mama. You're a woman. I'm a man. I do what I want to do. Out of respect, I will listen to what you got to say. Out of respect, I will consider what you got to say. But don't take it as disrespect when I don't do all the things you want me to do because you say to do them. Now, these are women that are by themselves. They single. They raising their kids on their own, but they want to tell me, no, you don't follow directions. You hard-headed and all. Okay, that's fine. That's your business. But here's the thing. This white guy looked me in my eye. I'm about to drive back home to Memphis, 14 hours away. This white dude looked me in my eyes and said, Duke Ellington didn't have no sister. Okay, but this New York Times article from March 11, 2004, over a year before we had this conversation, proves otherwise. Not saying that I'm a big fan of the New York Times, but New York Times normally do obituaries for very important people, VIPs, right? If to get an obituary in the New York Times says a lot about your status in society. That's why the New York Times did this thing recently where they went back and gave people obituaries that deserved to get obituaries, but they didn't get it at the time of their death. For example, like Ida B. Wells Burnett, very much worthy of recognition by a platform like the New York Times. She never got the proper obituary from the New York Times, so they went back about a year or two ago to give her a proper obituary. So this is Duke Ellington's sister. She was not Duke Ellington, but she's the sister of Duke Ellington. See how they put that in the headlines? Ruth Ellington Boatwright, 88, the sister of Duke Ellington. So she was famous because her brother was famous, right? Or they thought enough of her, or thought enough of her brother's contribution to American culture to give her obituary in New York Times the same year that she died. Not only that, she was very important to the legacy of her brother. She was her brother's sister keeper. She was her brother's keeper, excuse me. She was a sister who was her brother's keeper. You think about what I talk about St. Clair Alexander, how he was really a keeper of his brother's legacy. He was really the only person in his family, no disrespect to anybody in that family, who really sought to try to get better and wider recognition for his brother, even if it meant for him to try to follow in his brother's footsteps as becoming a singer. He still was trying to reflect light on his brother. So yeah, but this white guy, Smithsonian Institute, because they know everything, was telling me, oh no, he don't have a sister. I remember when people tell me that it was as a jazz musician educator, he said even decades ago, how he went to an event and how they were trying to make Charlie Parker and Duke Ellington white people. I said, how they gonna make them white people? We got photos and footage of Duke Ellington, and Charlie Parker. But think about it. They made Beethoven white. Beethoven wasn't white. Check out his death mask. Check out the descriptions of the appearance of Beethoven from his peers. Check out the nicknames they gave Beethoven. He was not what you call a classic white European, right? But imagine 100 years from now. Think about it. They can make Jesus white. They made Beethoven white. They can make Duke Ellington and Charlie Parker white. Who controls the narrative? That's why the shows that I'm doing to talk about our heritage needs to be respected, needs to be shared, needs to be supported. Because I just told y'all what this white dude trying to tell me. And let me read this obituary. Okay, let me read but it exists. She exists. Take a look. It's all online. All right. So this is what these devils do. Yeah, I said it. Devils. The devil is a lie. The devil. The devil is a lie. All right. And I'm gonna close it out with my wrap-up tribute, because I paid homage to Johnny Ace 2 years ago on his birthday. It was hot as hell, man. Hot as hell. It was like it had to be 100 degrees outside. And I out there like a fool by 20 minutes paying honor to Johnny Ace on his birthday. This was January 9th. Not January 9th, but January 9th, it should be hot. Like it was June the 9th, 2018. He's buried in New Park Memorial. A lot of famous black folks are buried over there, including the great trumpet player Booker Little that we talked about. Booker Little, Booker T. Little, the great trumpet virtuoso. He's buried over there. Died at the age of 23. And I believe that cemetery, New Park Memorial, was founded by a black woman back in the day. But put up this wonderful picture of Duke Ellington's sister. She was like a looker. See why men were crazy over her, and her brother was very protective of her, I guess. She lived a long life. But let's put up that wonderful picture of her. I'm assuming this is her. I saw an older picture of her. They look like the same person. But yeah, she was a red bone. Classic red bone from DC. Ron, you just, oh my God, just a low level thinker, low vibrational thinker. Okay. I would have dated her if she gave me a chance. But if I had a time machine, if I could turn back the hands of time. But anyway, I think I'm sharing the screen. It's early, late, whatever it's early for some people, it's late for some people. But time goes marching on. Let me read the New York Times obituary. And y'all remember what I said about this white dude looking me up and down in the eye saying Duke Ellington had no siblings although he's considered one of the world's foremost leaders and experts on Duke Ellington. Ruth Ellington Boatwright, 88, the sister of Duke Ellington. 88, there's 88 keys on a piano. That's symbolic. Duke Ellington was a master piano player, master piano strategist, right? By Douglas Martin, March 11, 2004. Ruth Ellington Boatwright, Duke Ellington's only sibling, who for many years took care of his business affairs, died on Saturday in Manhattan. She was 88. Her son, Michael James, said her death came after she had been sick for some time. Ruth Dorothy or Dorita Ellington was born on July 2nd, 1915 in Washington, D.C., and her first memory of her brother, who was 16 years older, was hearing him perform on the radio. In 1930, Ellington, by then highly successful, summoned his sister and parents from Washington to live with him in an apartment on Edgecombe Avenue in Harlem. The Edgecombe Avenue, that's a big deal. That's Travelers Row, right? You made it in Black America when you could live on Edgecombe Avenue. Jimmy Lunsford lived on Edgecombe Avenue at one point and also lived in White Plains, New York. Neighbors were Nicholas Brothers and Adam Clayton Powell Jr., along with his beautiful, talented wife, Hazel Scott, at the time. So that's, Edgecombe Avenue was a big deal back in the day. He was the only brother I had, and I was his only sister, Mrs. Boatwright said in an interview with Ebony in 1999. He took care of me from the time I was 12, and he's still taking care of me. Ellington died in 1974. Mrs. Boatwright oversaw his copyrights, contracts, and other business matters for many years afterward. In 1991, she sold a large number of his musical scores and manuscripts to the where and what? The Smithsonian Institution. Now, I just told y'all this expert on Ellington who helped Wynton Marsalis access those musical scores and manuscripts to write his magnum opus, Blood on the Fields. He said that this woman did not exist. That's what he told me. I wish I recorded that conversation. To the Smithsonian Institution. And in 1995, she sold 51% of Tempo Music, the company that owns most of Ellington's compositions, to a New York publisher. After high school in Manhattan, she graduated from Columbia University in 1939 with a degree in biology. Educated sister, planning to teach it. She then went to Europe to learn languages and write a thesis comparing the teaching of biology in Paris and New York. She stayed with Josephine Baker, the singer, and her brother's friend. Oh, but she didn't exist towards the white man at the Smithsonian. She didn't exist. This man was turning red in the face telling me this woman didn't exist. He had no siblings. She left a large footprint. She lived an interesting life. In 1941, Ellington formed Tempo Music to oversee his interests and named his sister president. She also bought her a 4-story house on Riverside Drive, where she maintained his trophy room of medals and honors. In the 1950s, she was host of a radio program on WLIB in New York, on which she interviewed guests, including the writer Ralph Ellison. That's the guy who wrote Invisible Man. He also was childhood friends with bebop, jazz legend, and guitar virtuoso Charlie Christian, who died young of tuberculosis, I believe, at the age of 26, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all can correct me because y'all love correcting black men. She was also active in the National Association for the Investment of Colored People and was a founder of the Jazz Ministry of St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Manhattan, where Ellington was a friend of the first designated jazz pastor, the Reverend John Garcia Gensel. Her first marriage to Daniel James, a journalist and political scientist, ended in divorce. Her second husband, McHenry Boatwright, an operatic baritone, died in 1994. Mrs. Boatwright is survived by her sons, Michael and Stephen James, both of Manhattan. At some special occasions, Ellington brought her as his official escort. Michael James said this was because Ellington thought it honored his sister. She once offered another explanation. He took me to the White House because he didn't want his women to be upset. She said to Ebony, if he picked one, all the rest of them would have screamed. Imagine a son like sophisticated lady. I imagine he told every woman that he knew that she was the inspiration for that son. And I love Duke Ellington. He was definitely a lady man, man. Duke Ellington, long live the king. Love Ellington, man. Love the Duke. Duke of Earl, Duke. Okay, I'm gonna start there. Duke of Ellington, Duke of Ellington. Okay. So yeah, this is why I do what I do. This is white folks will tell you, and y'all believe everything. Oh, it's safe. Just take it. Don't question our authority. I've been doing this for decades. It's safe. Take it. No commercials back in the 50s with them. I'm a doctor. Dr. So-and-so said you can smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. It's fine. It's very healthy for your lungs. Okay. This is where we at right now. But yet the white guy told me he had no sibling. This is a Duke Ellington expert. Right. And I'm crazy. But yet, that's why I'm saying everything's upside down, man. People got a problem that I exist. It just irks them that a person like me exists. I understand? But it is what it is, man. I'm here to tell my truth and speak this God work. But I got in Duke Ellington just to make a point that you got to think for yourself, do your own research. Somebody said about it. Man, Coltrane so deep. Yeah, man. Thank you. Coltrane saved my life, man. My first jazz album was in college that I brought. It was Giant Steps by John Coltrane, man. It changed the game for me. John Coltrane is amazing. I don't need Bill Clinton to tell me that John Coltrane is amazing. I saw the documentary did a couple years back. It was decent. But John Coltrane, his bloodline, black people, we are amazing people, man. Like I just told you, I'm related to like all types of interesting people. And all of us are related in so many ways we don't even know. It's like you look in your family trees. Oh, yeah, Curtis Mayfield, a cousin, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, yeah, Vic Miller, Julian Mayfield. I got so many different people I'm related to, and this is one family tree. But imagine researching all your family trees and them bloodlines, man. Black folks, we are some magical, special people, but we don't treat ourselves right. We let these white folks define the terms of our existence and our reality. We let them tell them who we should remember and not remember. All that crazy stuff. But this white dude, I ain't gonna never forget that. That was 15 years ago. White dude told me, "Oh, Duke Ellington didn't have no sister," and then she donated or Smithsonian Institute where he worked at brought all of Duke Ellington's intellectual property from her, his manuscripts and stuff. Come on, man. But Brother Ron, I get a date wrong or a name wrong, or I misspeak on some things, get a year off. Brother Ron, you got that wrong, Brother Ron. So everything is not correct. I can't trust nothing from Brother Ron no more. I don't give a damn. It is what it is. But even with Johnny Ace, them white folks got the story wrong. He was not playing Russian roulette. He was just pointing the gun around. It is so much confusion. But my thing is, I won't dismiss that he was, not murdered. I mean, even his brother told me he believed that Bobby Blue Bland put that extra bullet in the gun. He said this. Now, Bobby Blue Bland did start out with Johnny Ace and the Bill Streeters. Bobby Blue Bland was signed to Don Roby's Duke Records. Eventually, he became a big star on Duke. I met Bobby Blue Bland 1 year before he died at a historic marker dedication at Royal Studios. Willie Mitchell, the guy who produced Al Green and all this stuff. They at that same recording studio they did that Bruno Mars song, right? I know the one that came out that was jumping. They recorded it at that same studio where Al Green recorded a lot of his hits. I think even Ann Peoples, I can't stand the rain. It's my window. All that stuff was recorded there. So Memphis is a crazy place. But I met Bobby Blue Bland, like I said, he was a part of the Bill Streeters. This was a super blues group with B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Junior Parker, Roscoe Gordon, Earl Forrest, Adolph Duncan, and Johnny Ace. And I asked him about Johnny Ace. He said, "Oh, he was a fine singer. He had nothing but good things to say, but he said he would do an interview with me." And so I took down his contact information, but his wife blocked it. He said he would talk to me. I wish I would have asked him then, where were you at Christmas night, 1954? Were you in Houston? Were you in the city auditorium? Because Johnny Ace's brother said Bobby Blue Bland did it. Bobby, Johnny Ace break came because of Bobby Blue Bland couldn't read the sheet music. Bobby Blue Bland was functional illiterate at the time, as far as I know. I don't know if he ever learned how to read, but he had a hell of a career. Arguably the greatest blues singer of all time. Arguably. Bobby Blue Bland. But I never had a chance to talk to him extensively. I wish I would have asked him that day. I thought I had some time to talk to Bobby Blue, man, but his wife wouldn't let me talk to him. So it is what it is. But they got the story wrong on that. He was not playing Russian roulette. The gun was a 22. Some sources say a 32, a different caliber gun. And the white press led with that. They got his age wrong. He was 25. I saw somewhere where they say he was 27. This story is wrong, but once you get this story, a lie travels faster than the truth. You know, when institutions and authority figures been lying to you all your life, you don't know what to believe anymore. Once you snap out of that comatose state, you know, still a lot of us are walking zombies. But think about the late great Johnny Ace. I'm gonna play this last part, but I want to read something right quick before I play the last part of the show. Thank y'all for being patient. It's a long show. I have the tent though. These shows be at least 90 minutes long or under 2 hours. This show is approaching 3 hours. It's gonna be 3 hours since we'll change this show. I had no idea. Like I said, I promise y'all original content every day for 14 straight days. But hey, you know, now I'm running. I don't know how I stay doing the stuff I'm doing. It's like I'm running tired, but I'm still energized. Like I'm tired and energized at the same time. Like just sharing this information, giving me strength to keep it going, man. And so much I want to talk about. It'd be a lot on my mind. Like I said, I don't share a lot of this stuff. I be by myself most of the days, just be to my thoughts. I'm not trying to be funny with people. A lot of times people say, man, he returned my phone call and my text. I mean, man, y'all don't understand, man. I don't know how I can be able to be utilized as a conduit. I got so much things flowing through me, things trying to, I get stuff downloaded. And I said, man, I don't really feel like making these connections. These folks don't really care about what I got to think about this stuff. People say, oh, we care. I said, I just want to keep to myself, man. A lot of times I don't want to be in this position. I didn't know I was getting into when I signed up for this army, for this truther army, this truth army. I ain't know I was getting into, man. Like it was an old saying, Al Capone knew the trouble he would have got into when he moved to Chicago. He would have just stayed in Brooklyn to face that murder rap. You have no idea until you get in what you get in. But I'm thankful, blessed, and we elevating. And man, Johnny Ace did not live a long time. He did not live a long time. He just didn't. But his mark was made. I don't know if y'all can even hear me right now. This is my computer acting up now. This too shall pass, as they say. This too shall pass. But I want to thank y'all for being very patient and loving and thoughtful for hanging out with Brother Ron tonight. And I got some more shows coming up. Like I said, I got to end this show and find a way to get some rest, or just to get my mind off of some things. Like I'm having back-to-back shows. Been doing that for this month of December. Really been a high productivity month. My screen is frozen. I don't know if it's gonna get unfrozen, but hopefully I could finish it off with you all. Ain't no stopping us now. This thing really is not working. I might have to end it on this note. I thought I had so much more time. This thing like it's frozen. See if y'all can hear me. I guess y'all can still hear me. I can't access my computer right now. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, do the homework, man. If it's y'all first time here about Johnny Ace, somebody said in the chat that I helped introduce him to John Coltrane. Like I said, John Coltrane changed my life. And see if I'm gonna get out of here and come back in. Maybe it'll let me come back in. Stand by, people. If I can't, great. Still talking. That's good. Man, I sometimes like, my horror would be if I said all the stuff I just said and y'all couldn't even hear me. Oh, y'all didn't hear me. Uh-oh, y'all didn't hear me, huh? I said all that stuff for nothing. Well, let me say, I'm on the air now, right? Let me say what I said. I showed that picture of Johnny Ace. I guess it was a moment of silence. Like, you got to improv in the moment, right? So y'all can hear me now, hopefully. So I said all this stuff, right? And that on, but what I was saying was that with Johnny Ace, he's not in anybody's Hall of Fame. In order to get Johnny Ace to be your headliner, you had to get either BB King, Bobby Blue Bland, or Little Richard, who we just lost this year, as the opening acts. That's how big of a deal Johnny Ace was to Black America at the time. Thank you, Northern Bell. Yeah, I had did not add myself to this. I had to my browser crashed, so I had to restart it, and then I did not add myself to the actual streaming at that point. I put up the picture. So many y'all can hear me, but y'all couldn't hear me. Thank y'all. I appreciate the folks in the chat to let me know what time it is, what's going on. Maybe I do have to help some moderators. I don't know. But yeah, I was saying, how can a man who had those type of icons as his opening acts not be in anybody's Hall of Fame? Outside of what we did for him with the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Award. He's not in the Blues Hall of Fame, the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, no type of Hall of Fame outside of what we did. Memphis Music Hall of Fame. It's really a travesty. It's really a travesty. Really. It's an insult. We allow white folks to tell us who we should remember, who we should apply, who we do this and that. It's like I told you about Little Willie John. How you gonna figure about Little Willie John when a person like Mr. Excitement himself, Jackie Wilson, dreaded on coming behind Little Willie John? When he saw Little Willie John on the bill, Jackie would say, "Hey man, let me go first. I don't want to go behind Little Willie John." This the dude that taught James Brown how to perform properly at the Apollo Theater. The Godfather of Soul, who we lost on a Christmas night or Christmas Day. It wasn't Christmas night. I remember when I heard about the news, James Brown passed. It's like Christmas morning. And that was the same day, I think Gerald Ford passed. Who cares about Gerald Ford? Who meant more to the culture? James Brown or Gerald Ford? You understand? Then now we found out that he was murdered. I got to do a show about James Brown because his son-in-law came out with that and they killed his son-in-law, whoever they be. But a lot of Black Messiah deaths in the month of December. So yeah, but it is my hope by the end of next year, around this time, that Johnny Ace will be acknowledged in all these Hall of Fames, and he's deserving of the honor. And I want to read something that B.B. King said about his former bandmate and all that stuff, his friend Johnny Ace, because start a petition. Look, I started a petition several years ago to rename the international airport, Memphis International Airport, after Jimmy Lunsford 3 years ago. And I met with the people who run the airport, and they're white people. White folks run the airport. Now they got Negroes that are advisories and stuff like that, but they don't got the real power as white folks, right? So I met with these people in a meeting about changing. Because I said Jimmy Lunsford not only was he's a great music pioneer icon with Memphis roots, but he actually was a pilot. He owned and flew his own airplanes. He was an aviation pioneer. This man brought his first airplane in 1940 for what would be the equivalent of today over $300,000. This is a Black man with that type of money during the Great Depression. Jimmy Lunsford. Flying his own airplanes to gigs and stuff. That's amazing. Think about how they didn't want to teach the Black man how to fly a Tuskegee, the Tuskegee Airmen. Think about the fact that this country paid for the education of Admiral Yamamoto, who commanded the Japanese Air Force, basically. We let them go. We let him go to Harvard University. He was a guest of honor of the Department of Navy, of the U.S. Navy. We taught him how to fly planes, and next thing you know, he flying them planes into Navy fleets in Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. America loved to train her enemies. Civil War. Who were they fighting against? The Union was fighting against the Confederates. Where they go to school at? Places like West Point. Say, hell, Robert E. Lee was there when they captured John Brown at Harper's Ferry. Stonewall Jackson was there at the execution of John Brown in Charlestown, what is now known as West Virginia. So it's crazy. But I had this picture of the handsome, late, great Johnny Ace. This picture, I believe, was taken by Ernest Withers. Ernest Withers was the guy who turned out to be an FBI informant. He's the dean of civil rights photographers. He also took the picture at the Emmett Till murder trial back in September of 55. He took that picture of Moses Wright or Mose Wright. I don't know how. Some sources say Moses Wright. Some sources call him Mose Wright. That was Emmett Till's great uncle who lived down in Money, Mississippi. He pointed the killers, the kidnappers of Emmett Till out in the public, in the courtroom, Roy Brown and J.W. Malone. Some sources said, he said, there they be. So that was brave for a black man in 1950s Mississippi to accuse white people in the court of law of murder and kidnapping or whatever. So Ernest Withers took that photo, I believe, of John Alexander Jr., known as Johnny Ace. And he arranged the publicity for the late great Johnny Ace's homegoing. So I had a chance to meet with Mr. Withers back in 2004 in his studio on Beale Street. I had no idea about Johnny Ace. I wish I could have interviewed him or talked to him more. That it wouldn't be till 6 years later that his that proof of him being an FBI informant came out. And Mr. Withers was also one of the first black police officers in Memphis in the modern era. And what's crazy about being a black police officer in Memphis back in those times, you couldn't arrest white people. So you could see white folks raping somebody, I guess, or whatever, but you couldn't arrest them as a black police officer. This is the stupid stuff we put up with as black people. Now, let me read what B.B. King said about his bandmate. This is what B.B. King said about his bandmate in his autobiography, Blues All Around Me. Johnny had looks, guts, determination, and talent. But don't ever dare Johnny to do something dangerous, because the boy would up and do it. Finally, that did him in. I don't know the true story. I wasn't there, but I love his talent and mourn his passing. That's what B.B. King said, right? And so, I think I heard as much as that, So closing out, I want to play a tribute I made. I made a pilgrimage to Johnny Ace's final resting place for his mortal remains, right? I made a pilgrimage to that place. New Park Memorial in Memphis. A lot of famous black folks are buried over there. The cemetery, I believe, was started by a black woman back in the day. I believe she's buried there, if I'm not mistaken. But it's crazy because every time I go to these places, a lot of times the people that run the cemetery don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know where to find these people, even though they know access to all these burial records and stuff. They still can't tell me, so I had to do some educating, guessing, driving around the cemetery, looking at the tombstones. Okay, so people died around this decade. They all buried mostly here. I was playing Johnny Ace's Angel. Don't you know you're just an angel? Something like that. My angel. No, I love Johnny Ace, man. But somehow something told me, okay, this is the spot. Right here. I was driving slowly, looking at the tombstone dates, and I found Johnny Ace like that. Something was telling me, here you go. Go right here, go here, and there he is. Like he was waiting for me to acknowledge him on his birthday, June 9th, 2018. So I'm going to play that to close out. And thank you all, family, for tuning in and not tuning me out. I thank y'all for y'all patience and for y'all encouragement and support in so many ways. And the words of Great Together. We know we love you madly. Y'all keep on producing and pushing, but let me close it out with this segment. Man, 3 hours. I need to do a marathon show one day. And see, that raise awareness and raise support. Like, do a marathon, maybe a 24-hour. We all be like marathon show. If that's possible on YouTube, we could, stream for about 24 hours. I'll find a platform and just have a lot of interesting guests on for a whole day to raise money and awareness for our what I want to do. We're going to do it big in 2021. I got a lot of great things coming down the pipe, and I hope y'all can support it. But I would love to do like this, a marathon show. I mean, like a 24-hour show that have all interesting guests on and entertainment. And we could do it because I'm dreaming big things right now. But what Otis Redding saying, I got dreams to remember, baby. I got dreams to remember. And I'm going to make them real in 2021. But thank you all. And we're going to close out with the pilgrimage I did to Johnny Ace's burial place. I love making a fool of myself for a great cause. So thank y'all. y'all gonna see me. So I got some great shows lined up Saturday. Just call me the marathon man because I got some great shows coming down in just several hours. But let me get off this and get some rest or just meditate. And I'll give y'all some tips on meditation, some songs and whatnot. I'll share that in one. So I guess about the great reset for Black people. I share all the things I do to keep myself, up in terms of my immune system strong. This is not no medical recommendation. This is stuff I'm just sharing with you all in my life that I utilize every day to keep myself going. And thank y'all for y'all patience and love and care. And we'll see y'all soon. But let me close it out strong.
This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century. Greetings, family, and welcome to another wonderful infotainment edition of the Artivist Thinks. June is Black Music Month. It's National Black Music Month. Today's date is June 9th, 2018. Right here, I'm on ground zero for the final resting place of the late, great Johnny Ace. The late, great Johnny Ace was born June 9th, 1929 in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, a lot of y'all out there wondering who was and is Johnny Ace. Well, he was born John Marshall Alexander Jr. to a traveling preacher, one of 11 children. His house, his family home, South Memphis in Soulsville, not that far from the family home of Aretha Franklin when she was born, still stands to this day. Why does Johnny Ace matter? But Johnny Ace is arguably the first rock and roll star. He's the first rock and roll star. That's right, boys and girls, scholars and laymen. Not Elvis, but the late, great Johnny Ace. See, what's interesting about Johnny Ace is he's like one of them cats that he was very popular during his lifetime, but as time marches on, he's forgotten about. And a lot of the people who love his music, they are no longer walking this earth. He was the most popular male singer for African Americans, in particular African American women, back in the early 50s. His career was only 2 years and some months long, but his impact is everlasting. Let me just tell you a quick synopsis about why we should always remember and pay homage to the late, great Johnny Ace. He was a high school dropout, Booker T. Washington High School in South Memphis. This is the same high school that produced Maurice White, the visionary behind Earth, Wind, and Fire. This is also the same high school where the mother of gospel music, Sister Lucy Campbell, taught for decades. You understand? Special place. Marion Barry, his honor, the great DC mayor, with the Booker T. Washington High School in South Memphis as well. There's a lot of great people that come out of Booker T. Washington High School. I just want to highlight a few. Get back to the late, great Johnny Ace. He went to the Navy, couldn't make it, dropped out of the Navy. But when he was growing up, from my understanding, he was a music prodigy. He was basically self-taught. He could play anything he could get his hands on, the family piano, saxophone, anything he could get his hands on, he played and played very well. So getting back to Johnny Ace, he dropped out of high school, went to the Navy, couldn't make it in the Navy, came back to Memphis, joined a group and started hanging out on Bill Street, the world famous Bill Street, which is ground zero in a lot of ways for black music. Hanging out on Bill Street, hanging around the famous, legendary Mitchell Hotel, ran by the legendary Sunbeam Mitchell, the music visionary, sometimes pimp, but always a musician's friend, the benefactor of the black musician on Bill Street. So he used to stay and hang out in Mitchell Hotel, where you had the likes of Ike Turner, B.B. King, Little Richard, woo, and so many other greats you could name that hang around the hotel as well, playing all-night jam sessions, eating all-you-can-eat chili. But that's another story. But getting back to Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace was part of the legendary Bill Streeters. To me, the Bill Streeters are the Wu-Tang Clan of blues and R&B. But Bobby Blue Bland corrected me. It's more like the Wu-Tang Clan was the Bill Streeters of hip-hop. It was a super music group, kind of like LeBron James or Golden State Warriors, what they're doing now. Had all these legendary all-star Hall of Famers. You had not only Johnny Ace, but B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Junior Parker, Roscoe Gordon, Earl Forrest, Junior Parker. So many phenomenal giants. Johnny Ace break came when Dave Mattis, the sound engineer at WDIA, the first black radio format in any place in the country, took place at WDIA back in 1948. Memphis is home of American culture. That's another story as well. But Dave Mattis wanted to record Bobby Blue Bland for his new record label, Duke Records. Unfortunately, Bobby Blue Bland, or maybe fortunate for history for us, Bobby Blue Bland could not read, not only could not read music, but he could not read. He was functional illiterate, kind of like R. Kelly was until recently, functional illiterate. So Johnny Ace was given the opportunity to read, and the rest is history. He recorded the song, My Song, which took off, became an instant hit. And like I said, the rest is history. So he was signed to Duke Records. It was taken over by Davis Mattis' partner, Don Roby. Don Roby is an interesting character. He's like a mixture of Suge Knight, Berry Gordy, and Russell Simmons. Like, he was really before his time. He understood the power of black music. He was a great promoter. It's a kid out of Houston, basically a gangster out of Houston. So he took over the record label. Johnny Ace was the front, he was the face of the record label. Johnny Ace was so popular back in his time that in order to get him as your headlining act, you had to book either B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, or Little Richard as his opening acts. Now, all those guys are in so many different type of music hall of fames, but Johnny Ace is not even in one music hall of fame outside of the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Awards. And that's another story. But here I say this. So he was the face. He was the most popular, arguably, black male singer in the country. He was arguably the first rock and roll star. They would do one-nighters on the road. Like, that means you could play at a gig one night and then got to travel several hundred miles to the next gig. So eventually that lifestyle will wear on anybody, no matter if you is a 20-something-year-old kid from Memphis. So anyway, I'm trying to tie all this together, y'all. Johnny Ace, unfortunately, lost his life under questionable circumstances. On Christmas night, 1954, he was performing down in Houston at the City Auditorium with his label mate, Big Mama Thornton. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Now, Johnny Ace was known for pointing his gun at people and things and pulling the trigger. A lot of times when he's on the road, when he was bored, riding on the road, he would actually point his gun and shoot road signs and whatnot. And a lot of times he would also play around with his gun in terms of pointing at people, including himself, and pulling the trigger. And always the chamber would be empty when he pointed at other people or when he pointed on himself. Unfortunately, Christmas night 1954 was not the case. Johnny Ace was pointing the gun around at different people. He had on his lap his girlfriend, Olivia Gibbs. Although he was married at the time to his high school sweetheart who was back in Memphis living with his parents, he still had his girls on the side. It's a lifestyle of a musician. It never changed. Some things never change. So he had his girlfriend on his lap. He was in the dressing room pointing the gun around, even pointing at her, scared her a little bit. And I believe somebody said that either Big Mama Thornton or somebody told him, why don't you point the gun yourself and stop pointing at other people? Stop pointing the damn thing at everybody. And Johnny Ace, you know, just to ease the tension, he said, okay, guys, I'll point at myself. Look, I'm going to show you something. It's not, he pulled the trigger, blew his brains out. The rest is history. Now, some people say it was foul play. A lot of people would say popular culture says it was Russian roulette, but it was not playing Russian roulette. There was no Russian roulette being played. He was just pointing the gun at people as well as himself, and he was unlucky. Now, I heard different versions of the story where they said Big Mama Thornton took the gun from him and gave it back to him. So some people may assume that foul play was involved because maybe somebody slipped a bullet in the chamber without Johnny Ace's knowledge. Or maybe because he was complaining about his record obligations, contract with the record label, Duke Records. Like he was getting paid all the money he thought he should get paid. And he started raising hell about that. And maybe he, Don Roby, thought that the best star is a dead star. You can make as much money off you want off the star without them complaining about any goddamn thing. So I don't know. So a lot of people feel like it was an accident. It was foul play, murder, suicide, who knows? But Johnny Ace was just 25 years young when he passed away. His funeral took place January the 2nd, 1955 at Claiborne Temple. It was attended by 5,000 people. Among his pallbearers were the Bill Streeters. What's interesting about Johnny Ace is that he laid the foundation in his short 2 years and several months of a career for what was to come in terms of crossover, in terms of soul, mainstream success for Black artists. His biggest hit came after his death. His posthumous hit, Pledging My Love. What made Pledging My Love so unique was the fact that, you know, back in the day, you look at the movie Cadillac Records and stuff like that, you show how a lot of the best or great Black songs were covered by white artists for a white mainstream audience. Instead of selling the original thing, they had a white artist, like let's say Little Richard did Tutti Frutti. They'll bring in the white singer Pat Boone to cover Little Richard's Tutti Frutti. Although it had great, you know, chart success, by them utilizing the white artists over the Black artists, it gained even greater success on the charts as well as mainstream success. But what was unique about Johnny Ace, you could make a case that Johnny Ace was a Black man who sounded white, whereas Elvis was a white man who sounded Black. And it's interesting to note that when Johnny Ace went down for the count, marks the ascension of Elvis Presley. Johnny Ace from South Memphis, Elvis Presley from North Memphis. Johnny Ace grew up in a home, in a family home. Elvis grew up in the projects. You know, so it's interesting. But getting back to Johnny Ace, his version of Pledging My Love was so popular, they did better than the white artist versions of the same song. So they really laid the groundwork for the Sam Cookes and the Ray Charles and the things to come in popular music and culture. And he was a pioneer in that, dead at the age of 25. What's interesting, like I said before, Johnny Ace is not in any music hall of fame or note outside of the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Awards lifetime recipient. Why is that? Who are the gatekeepers? Who get to decide who's remembered and who's celebrated, who's not? Johnny Ace was more popular in his time than Little Richard and B.B. King at that time when he was alive. Now, 60 years later, he's forgotten about. Only old timers remember Johnny Ace. And when you play his song, My Song, The Clock, Pledging My Love, all these hits, and yet he's wiped away from public or from the national memory, this is insanity. It is time to reinstate the legacy of the late, great Johnny Ace. By the way, there are a lot of tribute songs written and sung in honor of Johnny Ace by Black doo-wop groups, by Black singers. It's like if Tupac died. It's kind of like that. He had that type of influence over his fellow artists. They did all types of tribute songs to Johnny Ace back in the day. But 60 years later, you never knew he existed. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like almost like Robert Johnson, who labored in obscurity. He died at the young age of 27. And then decades later, he took the British invasion, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and all those guys to remember Eric Clapton, remember the greatness of Robert Johnson, who wasn't that well known during his lifetime, but became phenomenally famous, and in some cases infamous if he made a deal with the devil, according to some people, on the national memory and beyond. So, with that said, I'm here to pay homage to the ancestor of the late, late great Johnny Ace, John Marshall Alexander Jr. You are a great man. You went through things that a lot of people don't know. You paid a price. You paid a big price. By the way, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, it's in the blood. Johnny Ace's granddaughter is none other than Legacy. Yes, the R&B neo-soul singer Legacy is the late, great Johnny Ace's granddaughter. That's musical royalty right there. Or musical royalty, excuse me. But this is why I do what I do. It is very important to know our stories, to tell our stories, to reclaim the narrative, to be the narrative. The ancestors are my entourage. If you believe in the work that I'm doing, if you have benefited, if your loved ones have benefited, if anybody out there has benefited from the work, from my God work that I'm doing, please feel free to spread the good news. Subscribe to the We All Be TV channel on YouTube, We All Be TV. Support the We All Be information movement. You could donate, PayPal. All that is available down in the description box below. Donate to PayPal, a one-time donation, a recurring donation. You can also make a recurring donation through the patreon.com/We All Be channel. You can buy artivist gear. Check out artivist art. You can wear my art. You can hang my art. You can even read my art. I have more books coming out, surely. My first book is James Reese Europe, Jazz Lieutenant, the true story of a Black American war hero and music pioneer, the late, great James Reese Europe. He is making a renaissance now. You should check that book out. It is on the Smithsonian Institute list for jazz books for kids and young adults, recommended list. So I could talk on and on about Johnny Ace and about his contribution. Also, Paul Simon's song, the late, great Johnny Ace, is about Johnny Ace. Elvis Presley's last recorded song was Pledging My Love. Is that eerie or is that a coincidence? That's kind of strange, ain't it? These guys career like mirror in a lot of ways each other. And his last song he ever recorded was Pledging My Love. Pledging My Love could also be heard in the original movie Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel towards the end. The original Bad Lieutenant movie, not the one with Nicolas Cage because he owed the IRS money, but the one with Harvey Keitel, the older version. Also, I believe Pledge My Love is played in that Stephen King horror car movie. Is it Christine or Christy or something like that? So his music is all over the place. Even Louis Armstrong, Aretha Franklin, they all recorded Pledge My Love. So how is it that this guy who left this type of influence? Because I always tell people, you may get more likes than me on social media, but I have more influence. A lot of times you can be the most influential person and not be the most popular person. But whoever favorite person is, your favorite person was influenced by their favorite person. You know what I'm saying? So you might not dig Johnny Ace, but if you like Sam Cooke, I'm sure that Sam Cooke was influenced by Johnny Ace in some type of way because he came before he opened the door. So anyhow, I'm gonna stop rambling for now. But thank you all for listening. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. And we also love you madly, Johnny Ace. May you forever live in our hearts and in your song. May they forever be played where human ears that can hear shall hear your prophetic voice on pop music. You will never be forgotten, Johnny Ace. May your legacy be forever amplified and appreciated. Once again, we love you madly.